this meeting to order. We'll start with the pledge to the flag.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Scott.
Here.
Nedrow.
Here.
Sinkwitz.
Here.
McGee.
Here.
Nagy.
Here.
Gesnicki.
Here.
Humboldt.
Here.
Correspondence. I do want to make sure that everybody saw we had an additional item of correspondence from Salmon Face Stamper. It should be in front of you. They emailed it to us, but we want to make sure we got the council packet. So here, a motion regarding the correspondence.
I guess one question I have, Mr. President, the 1-4B from Mr. Kucera, I'm not sure, unless I overlooked it, where his residence is, and where these pictures were taken, they were not too clear.
He is at the corner of Glengarry and Apple Orchard. So right out there where we recently paved.
Gotcha.
Move to receive and file.
Second. Motion Nedrow, second Sinkowitz. Further discussion? I do want to mention that I think we've had a couple folks come up, since we passed the temporary structure ordinance, we've had a couple people who clearly had fairly permanent temporary structures. I think we're gonna have to see what we can do as a community to help to accommodate some of them to either get themselves some permanent structures or find a different solution for their stuff. But Salmon Fay, I know them. They've been long time residents. I know the other gentleman who had cars, and actually I don't know him, but I know right where his house is. He's had it for a long time. Not all of those were necessarily what we were aiming at when we passed that ordinance.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, those plastic ones aren't very, in an emergency for, somebody's doing a restoration, needs to put stuff out of the weather, but it becomes longer and longer, and, there's all these places where you can store stuff that, we're not talking about a financial burden on anybody. If you have that much stuff, you ought to be able to store some of it.
So, all I'm saying is I think we've caught a few situations in there that we didn't originally mean. On the other hand, those are temporary storages. They were not ever intended to be 20-year storage solutions. So I don't know if it's a matter of asking planning to take another look. I don't know that there's anything we can do within the ordinance. The ordinance is pretty straightforward.
Boy, I guess there's gonna be situations, like I said, that come up where you can't accommodate everything.
Yeah.
So I guess
Is there a time limit on it now?
it's 180 days.
It's 180 days.
Should be plenty.
The problem is, there's been a couple that were put in that were almost more temporary than permanent,
Mm-hmm.
but they're not affixed to the ground, so really, they're temporary, considered temporary. And what do you do in a situation like that? It could be, if a gust of wind comes up, blows it over or something, I don't know. I guess we tried to handle it as well as we could on planning.
I don't have a solution either.
Yeah, it's kind of tough. So I guess maybe we can look at trying to figure out how to,
Well, maybe if you could ask planning if they have any thoughts on it, or.
yeah, and bring it up at the next meeting.
Okay, we have a motion to receive and file. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Additions to business, and we do have a few additions to business. So, I would like to add a brief closed session to discuss the attorney's opinion at item 13 pre-A. And we'll go upstairs for that. I would like to add 2015 purchase of tiki candles for 2015 as item CA. I would like to add as item O, liaison to Oakland County Emergency Management Coordinator. And you should have in front of you a resolution for that. And one more. Sorry, Ed. And as item KA, weed harvesting and weed control, is that?
Yes.
Okay. under Water Management Board. I think I've got them all there. Do I hear a motion to approve the agenda as amended?
Second.
Motion Nedra, second Kaznecky. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, brings us to the first call to the public, an opportunity for citizens to address the council on agenda items. Mr. Ralph.
Yeah, Bob Mallon, 1620 Thurston. Under your correspondence, I see we had something regarding the village-wide garage
Oh,
sale.
Bob, could you?
Well, I've been away too long. Bob Malik, 1620 Thurston. Under your correspondence, you have something regarding the village garage sale and also regarding yard repair. Is that available that somebody can come and see it, or is that something you can read to the public so we know what these are in regard to?
The correspondence is, yeah, they're available in the office, of course, to anybody in the public. The first one was a letter from Ginger Nickloy, just saying her appreciation for the village-wide garage sale, and that she felt it was very successful. Second one was from Rick Kucera on, it was specific to the ditch that was dug in front of his house as part of the work on Glengarry. He's at the corner of Apple Orchard and Glengarry. And he had some issues with what came up with that and was not happy about how some of that worked. and some
Well,
of the results.
the reason I ask, sometimes if you come to a meeting like being on another board, you don't know what it's all entailed. So I don't know, I guess maybe I'll have to look and stop in prior to the meeting so I can see these. And I appreciate your answers. Thank you.
You're welcome. Anybody else first call to the public? Seeing none, I will close the first call to the public. And we will move on to candidates for office. This is all we have in case any of the candidates who are going to be on our November ballot wish to appear. We now know the lineup that we have out of the primary, so don't see anybody out there. So we'll move on. Item 8, approval of consent agenda. Do I hear a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Motion Nagy.
Second.
Second Kaznecky. Discussion?
I have a question about the zoning board of appeals minutes for 7:15. And it kind of flows into the accuracy or the completeness, if that's even a word, of the minutes. I'd like to have that a separate discussion, or at least a couple questions about that.
Okay,
those minutes.
let's remove that. So we have a motion to approve the consent agenda with the removal of the ZBA minutes of July 15th.
I think another question, Mr. President.
Sure.
Under item K, are you removing that automatically because of the addition of
The
Harrison?
regular part of item K will stay. Item K1 or KA will. KA, man. Should have named it a 1. Item
Yeah.
K1.
Well, I would like to remove it then, because I would like to make some comments on the Water Management Board meeting and aeration, if we could do that.
Okay, well, the first item, the consent agenda item
Mhm.
is really just the Huron River Watershed annual fees.
So you can talk about.
Oh, okay, I see what you're saying, the recommendation, okay.
Yeah.
Well,
However,
I was going to
however,
talk about aeration anyway, so.
yeah,
Okay.
we've got
As long as you
item
open it up.
K1,
Yeah.
weed harvesting, weed
I got you.
control. I think we can include aeration discussion there too.
That's fine.
Snow shoveling.
I understand how you did it now, that's why I
Yeah.
asked the question.
So I think we're still at a motion to approve the consent agenda with the removal of ZBA minutes of July 15th. And roll call vote?
Nedrow.
Yes.
Sinkwitz.
Yes.
McGee.
Yes.
Nagy.
Yes.
Chesnecki.
Yes.
Cumbo.
Yes.
Scott.
Yes.
Thank you, council. That brings us to ZBA minutes of July 15th, 2014. Let me just preface your conversation, Ron, by saying board minutes, in a lot of ways, they belong to the board. The board puts them together. If they want to make amendments to them, they can put them in. they come to our council to keep us informed as to what's on that board. Having said that,
Well, if that's the case, then the accuracy or I guess we can't assume that the minutes presented, we can accept them, but we can't be assured of their accuracy or completeness. Is that the case? Is that the premise that we're operating under? Because my concern is that in open meetings, I was not at this meeting. I was not attending that meeting. I'm not the liaison to that board, and I was not in attendance. I didn't have any business in front of that board. But my understanding is that as part of their meeting, there was a number of comments made, which we've had some prior discussions about, that are not included in the minutes. Now, my question is, should they be? And if so, why are they not there?
so let me start, and then I'll hand it back to our attorney and or our administrator. In terms of what's actually captured in the minutes, the thing that we're legally required to caption are motions and votes. We tend to do expanded minutes so that we capture the discussion before and after the motions, additional information points, very useful when you go back to find out what went on. All of that we're not legally required to capture, and inclusion or non-inclusion is fairly optional. I agree that I don't think that those minutes reflect what we heard from multiple witnesses was stated there, but what was stated there was not relevant to a motion. So the amount of it that would need to be captured, I don't know. I would also say that these are preliminary minutes. They haven't actually been reviewed and passed by the ZBA. So what we have before us are the preliminary minutes of the July 15th meeting. Our motion is only to receive and file. And
Mr.
the
President,
attorney can-
that being said,
Yep.
ZBA minutes are very critical because of the nature of the ZBA board and the rulings that they're making. So they should be, what is stated in the minutes should reflect what is done at that meeting, or how it affects the motion, I guess.
Well, I can tell you,
Mhm.
having been present at that meeting, that this is not a verbatim recitation of what occurred there, but that is, as John has stated, not a legal requirement. And all that needs to be stated in the minutes is the motions and the votes and the attendance, and there's no legal requirement to state that verbatim discussion.
Okay, if that's the case, is it within our purview to mandate that because of that board has exceptional allowances outside of council's control, that they do an accurate, can we more or less mandate that they have their minutes actual and complete and filed? Seeing that is clearly more important than Parks and Rec minutes or Historical Committee minutes. It's my view that they should be complete, accurate, and on the record. Especially when things are said that are so offensive, and then they're not captured in the minutes. There's something wrong about that, in my view. And I think if council is in a position to mandate a separate set of requirements, more complete feedback of that meeting, not across all the committees and boards, but that board, I think we should move that in that direction.
From a legal perspective, council is empowered to direct your committees and boards to do that, but that's a policy decision, whether or not you want to do that, whether you want.
But is it, as Jennifer, it is, we could do that.
You could
We don't have
direct
to do
them to have
universally against all the
verbatim.
committees or all the boards. We could have different requirements for minutes with the zoning board versus the others.
Yes,
We could direct them to have a recording and a transcript, is I think
Yes.
what you're looking for.
yeah.
I think that's exactly what I'm looking for.
Doesn't that go to the whole question of transparency in government? I understand the legal question, but I think I'm in agreement with you, Ron. There are many times when you have to have a more, I don't want to say colored, but a more
Detailed.
and more of a sense of what's going on. At any point in time, a chair can call certain items not to be recorded. Is that not true? If they are of a nature of comment that is not in line with the motion or et cetera?
A chair can never say that can't be recorded.
Okay.
I mean, you can have closed discussion if you're justified to do so under the Open Meetings Act, but what you're stating on the record is part, if you are directing ZBA or planning or whoever, we want a verbatim recording of your minutes, then there is a verbatim recording of the minutes, and the chair doesn't get to pick or choose what goes in those minutes. It's whatever is open discussion.
Mhm.
Whatever procedure you follow for recording. Like tonight, she's recording the minutes, and then she's gonna do her, and I don't believe you do a verbatim transcription for council. So, that's how most of your planning, but John doesn't get to sit here and say, no, don't put that in there, she just
Understand.
kinda like picks
So
and
that
chooses.
begs the question of saying that anything that goes on in a meeting is in fact of some importance for full public overview of what's happening within the meeting.
I think, too, one of the problems comes in, a chairperson could say, I want to make sure that this has been captured in the minutes to show, the statements that were made. But then on the other hand, like John had mentioned, somebody said, well, how come you didn't put mine in there? And I think, especially something that the legalities that are involved with this and that committee, that's, I would think it would be a good idea to have a, verbatim, especially, in that particular board.
I don't know that there's legal benefit to us as a village having them done verbatim. I mean, I think it potentially exposes us to, greater discovery, more, longer legal process and more opportunity for legal nitpicking with what's said in those minutes. I mean, that's kind of my feeling about it. Is I don't think we really want to go down the path of full transcriptions of ZBA meetings, but that's.
And that is a consideration that communities face is, what, not that you're trying to hide anything, but that just is,
Just as a question, do you know if other communities record and keep record of their ZBA meetings?
verbatim.
Mhm.
I don't know, none of my communities keep verbatim transcripts of their ZBA meetings, but they do record.
They do record and keep the recording.
Is this equipment available away from the professional oversight of it for that kind of recording, or can it be?
I think we would probably need to engage somebody to do the
To manage it
recording.
at
Yeah,
that point
to
in time? I
manage it.
mean,
Yeah.
net of the video issue, I guess it's a question we can get answered, right?
I understand the concern that it might complicate issues, it might further complicate certain issues. I understand that concern, and I can emphasize with that. But that being said, I think the other concerns override all that. And I've made that clear to Edmund in the last meeting we had, and so on. So I think at this point, seeing that council was not able to take what I feel was the appropriate steps, I think it's almost it's necessary, in my opinion. Now, if we can't do it as a motion tonight, we can take it to admin yet again, or next month, bring it up as a motion and put it on the agenda, because we've already modified the agenda, but I don't think it's an issue that's gonna go away. And I think having an accurate reflection of what's actually going on that board is important.
Well, I support what you're saying. I
Especially
know
when minutes-
what was said in the meetings, et cetera, that maybe we do need to record that, okay? I'm not disputing that, because there have been some wrong things that we said that weren't recorded. I think you're right. You're on the right track. How we do it legally and get it all recorded properly, I think it's a thing we should look at.
Well, I think legally it's pretty straightforward. We already usually our recording secretary makes a recording. Those, however, and correct me if I'm wrong, tend to be that secretary's private conversation or private property. They use it to assist in putting together the minutes, and then at that point, the recording erased, copied over, whatever.
And that's what most communities do with recordings. I mean, some communities do retain their recordings, but they're, then subject to
I mean,
FOIA.
whether it's a written transcript or,
Right.
but certainly ownership of that tape and the tape of the complete meeting, including comments, we should take that action regarding that board.
So Ron, do I hear that as a motion?
If that's allowed, I mean,
I think we're in discussion of those meetings, and I think that would be a permissible motion under this discussion of what was in those meetings.
then I'd be happy to
minutes.
make that motion that we take the steps to ensure that those meetings, ZBA meetings, are captured in their entirety via tape, videotape, and owned and retained by Village.
Ron, would you accept a friendly amendment to say the audio of those meetings is captured?
Yeah, I think I thought I framed it that way.
Yeah, you said videotape, and just to
Okay.
do a video, we'd have to make sure we had a videographer.
That's fine.
cameras and all
Audio
that.
tape is fine, as long as it's kept, on file here and owned and kept by the village, not by the recorder.
Okay, so that's a motion to keep an audio recording of the ZBA meetings on file at the village. Do I hear a second?
I'll second
I
it.
heard second from Sinkowitz first, I believe.
Mhm.
Further discussion?
I think it's probably a good idea too, especially since those minutes were referred to numerous times.
And because we did not have a recording
Yes.
of
Mm-hmm.
the comments and questions.
Yeah.
Is that as straightforward enough for you to get a copy from the recording secretary, or are we gonna have to talk a little bit about implementation and technical?
Well, Sheila's using a recorder right now, that's hers.
Mhm.
And when you transcribe the minutes, can you hear all the comments on your recorder?
Usually, yes. Not always, but usually.
So the equipment belongs to them too, so perhaps the village will have to purchase some kind of equipment to do this that.
Yeah, there's all kinds of.
Yep.
Jennifer, do you see any problem with this?
No.
Okay.
I mean, I mean, you could do that. You could have the minutes transcribed in writing verbatim, but that would be a lot of
No,
work,
no.
and you'd have
If we
50
needed
pages
it to
of
go back
minutes.
to it.
We
that
needed
tape
it, we
would-
can do it at that point, but
I didn't know
yeah.
if there was
Yeah.
a certain type of tape or something, so it hasn't,
No.
that one of our
No.
presidents had a
I
problem with
mean,
the tape.
you may have to get, just my experience with the other communities, you may have to get some kind of device, because a lot of the secretaries use digital devices, and it gets downloaded to their computers, so I'm not sure how you would capture then that file, or I'm sure there's a way, but you can figure that out.
I think we
Reel to
might be
reel.
best off putting the microphones up, activating them, and capturing it through the board, and I'm sure Ken can direct us as to the most effective way to do that.
Anything you guys need?
So, but we probably will have to buy a piece of equipment to do it, so.
Is that something you think we could get in place, because there's a meeting next Tuesday? I mean, if we want to initiate this, we ought to do it at the meeting, because they don't have one every month.
I don't see why we couldn't. I mean, maybe we can refer to the recorder again, but just do a simple audio tape.
Yeah, just.
Get equipment to do that, owned by the village, would see a very, very simple
What do you think?
process.
Making an addition or amendment to that, not to exceed $300? I mean,
We asked
I
Ken
would-
if
We have
there's
no
a-
idea how much it's gonna cost though.
Yeah.
well, I imagine you could spend $2,000 if you wanted to, and then you could probably get one at the drugstore for $5.
Well,
Yeah, if we get one at the drugstore for
Yeah.
$5, we will not be able to
No, that-
understand a
that's not
single
gonna
word
work,
on it.
but-
Can we refer, yeah, can we
I believe we have an audio visual expert back there,
About, I think it's about 250.
so about 250. Can we just say not to exceed $500, just to make sure we have sufficient to cover it? So friendly amendment?
I accept that.
Okay.
250, we say 500.
Further discussion of that motion? All in favor? Actually, no, wait, let me get a roll call vote, because we do have money attached to it. So, roll call vote, please.
Sinkowitz?
Yes.
McGee?
Yes.
Maggie?
Yes.
Cheznecki?
Yes.
Humbo?
Yes.
Scott?
Yes.
Medrow?
Yes.
All right, thank you, council. Thank you, Ron.
Thank
All
you.
meetings will be run through here.
Okay, do I hear a motion to receive and file the ZBA minutes of July 15th?
So moved.
Second.
Motion Nedrow, second Scott. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, no public hearings scheduled tonight. That brings us to item pre-A, closed session to discuss an attorney's opinion. Do I hear a motion to go into closed session?
So moved.
Second.
Motion Nedrow, second Scott. Let me get a roll call vote on this.
McGee?
Yes.
Maggie?
Yeah.
Guzekowski?
Yes.
Humble?
Yes.
Scott?
Yes.
Nedrow?
Yes.
Sinclair?
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you, council. We will be back, I think, fairly briefly.
Watch my kid.
What do you mean you lost it?
I said, watch it.
Clive, had a chance to, go get some chips, go get some ice cream, settle in. Boy, we should have sold some commercial space during that break. Okay, item 13A, request from DPW leader Andrew Stone. Andy, what do you got for us? And I believe everybody has the list.
Okay, well, okay. Good evening, council. I've got requesting the release of budgeted funds for 5 items, 3 of which would be DPW equipment, either upgrades or additions to. I guess I'll start with those. We're looking at a plasma cutter for the DPW for some of our equipment maintenance and different fabrication projects. I realized on these, the first item here, the plasma cutter that I budgeted for was $1,761, and the competitive bid was $1,270.54. The difference being is that the competitive bid was an unknown manufacturer from someone we've been doing business with, Fastenal. We've been working with a state purchasing price program with them. We're just unfamiliar with the brand and who would be able to do some repair work if and when necessary for it. The other bid factor on that is that the unknown bid is for basically a 3/8 capacity cutting, and the one that we were getting from the Miller plasma cutter, which is from Airgas, we have a leased contract with them, is actually capable up to 1/2 inch.
Okay,
so I just want to clarify the price
And
difference on
that was
that.
exactly the question I had about that. So it's a more capable cutter than.
More capable, brand name, and very serviceable.
Okay.
Would you like to handle these one by one, or would we just go through this? How would
Let's
you
go
like to
through the
handle
whole,
it,
let's go
Mr.
through the whole
President?
list, and then hopefully we can just do
And then
one
okay.
motion.
Very good. All right, thank you. Second of all, for the DPW would be a leaf collection system. We have the zero-turn riders on that. Basically, it's a 3-bag system that attaches to it. The price that we have on that, again, is a state purchasing price at $2,487.33. It is a state purchasing price. It did not have a competitive bid on that from Batters and Sons. We do a lot of work, especially down at the Brisbane and where we have the tennis courts now. The oak trees down there are very prolific. We've been trying to categorize everything with a leaf blower and then pick them up with a tink claw, but it's quite intensive. This is going to help us out quite a bit. And also down in the Clara Miller area.
Andy, is this like the cart that you pull behind and it blows it in?
Now, it actually attaches to the rider mechanism in itself. And I did notice on here that there is for that one, I would prefer that the amount not to exceed, because I also saw on here that there are some quick attach weights that were in the amount of $238.95 that I may not need. I think I have some that were already available on our tractor, so that may be able to be deducted.
So instead of
from that price.
$424.87, it's not to exceed.
Not to exceed.
Okay. All right, questions about the watering pump?
Yeah, the watering pumps that we have right now are, I think they're probably about around a 1975 grade or so, as in far as year. We've tried to refurbish them as much as we could. Actually, we thought we had good confidence in one, and we actually needed it, and it's very unreliable for us. So yes, I'm looking to pick up a 2-inch Honda dewatering pump for $1,057 from Cougar Sales over in Novi. It's a very good price. Actually, the competitive bid was for $11.99, and that was from Batter and Son, who usually we do state purchasing from. They don't actually carry the Honda pumps in the John Deere stores anymore. And so he had to contact his representative, and he was like, well, there was some bad communication between them. And he says, here's my price for it, and then do what you want to after that. I was very happy to start a new relationship with Cougar Products over here. Actually, when we were dealing with the dam down here and doing the concrete work on that, and these guys were using their pumps on that, that's where I got my lead into Cougar for them. And I said, who do you guys go to? Because I'm not getting any good prices around here. And I got a good lead on that, and I thought it was an excellent, excellent price. It's something that can be used for dewatering situations or in water mains, such and such.
Flood
We have to have
situations,
dewatering.
Metro Detroit is familiar with that.
We're familiar with flood situations. So that would be it for the, as far as the DPW items. The other item I have on there is a new flagpole for Clara Miller Park, and the price of $1,650 from R&R Contracting. It's a 27-foot pole with an internal cable system that's installed. The other competitive bid was for $2,400.38. It wasn't quite as substantial of a pole. There was a rope mechanism inside. The pole that we have there existing right now is basically, it's been fabricated. I only can't even tell how many years ago, fashioned from actually the top of it is a ball hitch, like for a trailer, and it's all just steel pipe that's welded and fabricated.
Let me tell you, you should see the size of the wheels on that trailer.
Yeah, so it's kind of awkward to raise up and down, and that's part of the reason why I've always been very successful with it myself, but I had somebody else do some maintenance on it last year, and they didn't realize how heavy it was because it's on a fulcrum, and it fell down quite quickly, and it's got a little bit of a lean to it now. And I thought, that park deserves a nice flagpole.
And water tank, any questions about that? Water tank cleaning and porcelain lining.
Yeah, the water tank cleaning. This would be for Laguna Vista. This is basic maintenance on this. It's years ago we had inside the hydropneumatic tanks that stores the water for the water system. There's a porcelain lining inside there, so it doesn't come in contact with the steel on the outside. It has to have periodic maintenance. They have to go in internally. We'll dewater the tank. They do an inspection of the porcelain lining, clean out all the interior, the rust that's settled inside the tank. Do any kind of porcelain repair work, and reflood the tank. There aren't too many companies that do this kind of work around the state here, so there's not a whole lot of competitive bids. This is the company that installed the lining, so we do have some warranty work with them, reputable company. Any questions about that, Council?
Andy, is this the one on Laguna Vista that we need to do this to? Are there any other systems?
This year, I do it's about a 4 to 5 year periodic maintenance. So we also have Penny Lake Estates, and I try and keep them in a nice alternated pattern so that we aren't taxed
Putting it all
by
on
doing
one.
everything at once.
Okay.
All right, so I don't see any questions on that. So do I hear a motion to purchase the DPW items as presented with the leaf collection system price not to exceed $2487.33?
So moved.
Motion Nagy, second Sinkowitz. Further discussion? Nope, pretty clearly explained. I think good all around.
Thank you, Council.
All right, further discussion? Roll call vote?
Nagy.
Yes.
Chesnecki.
Yes.
Humble.
Yes.
Scott.
Yes.
Nedrow.
Yes.
Sinkwitz.
Yes.
McGee.
Yes. Thank you, Andy.
Did you include the new flagpole and water tank too in that motion?
Yes, yes,
Okay.
all the DPW items.
All right, good.
Those being not actual DPW equipment, but DPW
That's
items
fine.
they'll be. Okay, that brings us to reports and recommendations from Engineer Powell. Let's start with B1.
B1, this is a pay request from JJM Excavating for the pathway that is completed down South Commerce Road. This isn't his entire bid. His entire bid was in about $7,000. He's only about 3/4 done with it. As you can see, if you've walked it, he's gotten down to where We're within about 35 feet of the stream crossing. And so therefore, he'd like to be paid for the work that he's done. Now, in this particular item, the DPW did a great deal of initial work. They debrushed the whole area, took trees down, they laid down fabric, they brought in their own, some of the millings as well, put more fabric down and brought in even more millings. Our contract with JJM, however, was just the top 3 inches of material. And so therefore, he actually brought in between 3 inches and a foot in some locations. And so the DPW did the vast majority of the work there, but JJM did in fact do the work that they were contracted for. So I'm looking for council to authorize the payment for him for 3/4 of his contract for that particular project. Bring you up to date just a little bit. Last week I walked that entire stream on the west side of South Commerce Road.
You walk on water now?
Actually, thank
You
you
said
very
you
much. I
walked
walked
the stream.
adjacent to the stream on both sides. Thank you. And trying to find a good spot to cross that stream. Could not find. It actually floods out even worse back in that wetland back there. So my design concept for crossing that stream is going to be right out next to South Commerce Road, straight continuation of the pathway that's already established from Heron Hills down to where it's at now. I'm going to propose crossing the big culverts there at South Commerce Road with a boardwalk, and then going back to an asphalt pathway on the south side of the boardwalk, tied into where the crosswalk is there on Glengarry Road. So that kind of brings you up to date on that. Just as soon as the DEQ, and I haven't completed the drawings yet, as soon as I get a permit from the DEQ to finish that, JJM will finish the rest of that pathway, and we'll have to go out for bids for the boardwalk.
Okay, so, and the pathway portion, once the pathway portion is finished, well, we still have pathway to do here, but my concern basically is, are we gonna get all the base of these pathways done in time to do paving before the asphalt mills shut down?
I'm going to say absolutely yes. JJM is doing a very good job, as you've seen from the Vita Trail this way. We had a big meeting this morning, Andy, Jeff, and I, regarding how to finish it here in front of the Village Hall. And he's going to take on next week the rest of it, heading towards South Commerce Road. I fully expect that even before we build the bridge, we'll be able to have the pathway paved so we can get all of that paving done up to where the pathway is going to, or the bridge is going to connect the north and south side of the stream. So I'm still shooting for all the pathways to be paved, at least present the council with bids on it, and then council can decide whether or not it's budgeted for this year.
Mike, how long do you think getting the permit for the bridge, do you think that's going to be a stumbling block?
I don't think so. The head guy at the Southeast DEQ works with us really well. He really pushed for the permit that we got approved already. By pulling it back out to South Commerce Road, it's really a very minor permit now. All we're going to do is be trimming some trees along South Commerce Road. So he said that will probably only take him a couple weeks to get a permit to us on that.
Would that entail more of a permit if we extended that culvert instead of a boardwalk?
No, but it would require a permit from the road commission as well. And so the problem with extending the culvert, we also have a 12-inch pipe coming in from the south that picks up Glengarry Road. So we have 2 culverts right there in the same location. We'd actually have to put a manhole there, tie it all together, and then extend, and then we'd have a boardwalk over top of a manhole. I think this is by far the least cumbersome way to cross that pathway.
Will that bridge be somewhat of a semi-suspension bridge? Is that what you're saying? They steel?
Big girders going straight up with the
No.
ties? No. Actually, it'll be, I'm looking for it to be a 2x12 stringers
Stringer.
with 2x4 cross, very, very similar to the construction of the boardwalk along Benstein Road.
Okay.
We have to have a railing?
I was referencing what I saw in the.
It will have to have a railing on the west side. We won't need a railing on the east side. We may want one just to give people a peace of mind, but we're going to need one on the other side because it drops off into about 3 feet of water, and we wouldn't want to chance somebody falling off in the water on that side. but this side, we wouldn't need it.
The reason I ask that is, if you've been in Commerce Park, they replaced the bridge there with a bridge with steel rather than wood, because the other one was a floater, but it also began to sink.
That's correct.
So I don't know if that is something to look at. Probably more costly.
This will not be a floater, though. This will be just
No, I
one
understand.
side to the other.
That's correct. One side to the other, about a 20-foot clear span will cross both culverts.
Right.
You may not remember, but I was the one that designed the Commerce Township pathway, and we
Oh.
did put that floater in there. It was much easier to get a DEQ permit for that. I thought about putting a steel bridge in there, much like we did across the dam area there, but that was about a $15,000 bridge that we set in there, and so I didn't think we wanted to spend that much, at least at this time.
Yeah, they just
So-
use steel struts with wood over it. is what
Oh,
they
okay.
did. Yeah, they didn't put a pure.
And I may
steel
go that route.
It's very sturdy.
Right.
All right, do I hear, seeing no further comment on, do I hear a motion to approve payment in the amount of $4,125 to JJM for the work completed on South Commerce Pathway?
So moved.
Motion Nagy, support. Second Nedrow, further discussion? Roll call vote?
Chesnecki?
Yes.
Trumbo?
Yes.
Scott?
Yes.
Nedrow?
Yes.
Eglet?
Yes.
Nagy?
Yes.
Nagy?
Yes.
All right, B2.
B2, this is another request for JJM to pay him for completing the Vita Trail pathway. If you've had a chance to walk that, he did a good job
Lot
for
better.
two reasons. Number one, he meticulously cleaned up after himself and leveled that pathway out very well. But as you've seen some of the piles of asphalt millings, some of them had some big chunks in it. So he was very good at selectively going through those piles and making sure that we just had really millings, more finely granular millings there. So in my opinion, he did an excellent job and deserves to be paid for that project. I will state, however, that I'm going to suggest that when and if we hire the paving contractor to put the asphalt down here on our projects, he's going to have a very large rolling machine and vibrating roller. And I expect that we will have him not only roll the pathways that's going to have asphalt on it before he puts the asphalt on, but we'll have him roll the Vita Trail as well, tighten that right down and harden that surface as well.
All right, questions about Vita Trail? Do I hear a motion to approve payment of $7,500 to JJM Backhoe Services for the Vita Trail work?
So moved. Second.
Motion Sinkowitz, second Nagy, further discussion? Roll call vote?
Trumbo?
Yes, but, yes.
Yes.
Nedrow?
Yes.
Eglet?
Yes.
Nagy?
Yes.
Nagy?
Yes.
Chesnecki?
Yes.
Yes, please, thank you, council.
Yes, please.
Tim King pay request in the amount of $8,532.40.
This is quite an interesting bid. If you recall, he was the low bidder for the concrete work being proposed around the village. The first one is the Vita Trail exercise pad, and hopefully every council person has been out there and gone through that exercise program out there. So there's a really great exercise stations. And again, they did a very, very good job, and I have a couple large water tanks, and after they got done, I kept the surface of that wet for 2 days just to make sure that the surface didn't dry too quickly, and we maintained the hardness of that pad. So they did a very good job there. Then they came and busted out all the asphalt, or all the concrete for our beautiful ramp up into the upper area of the village hall. All the plans said that was a 4-inch slab. It ended up being an 8-inch broken up slab. So they had a great deal more work to do on that project. And they did request a $329 extra for all the additional concrete that they had to break up. And that was just their time to be able to remove an 8-inch slab instead of the 4-inch slab. Also, Tim King wanted to be paid for the concrete because he had to pay it within 2 weeks of after receiving the concrete. We struck a deal with CF Long that the village, and that'll be another, that's the next pay request. Not only did we have an account with CF Long, but by the village paying the concrete prices, we actually received tax deduction from it, so we didn't have to pay the 4% sales tax. So we separated Tim King's pay request from his labor, and we took out the CF Long concrete, so the total due to Tim King is $8,559.40. That included the entrance to one of the DPW bays and the weed harvester bay floor slab as well.
You say 85.59.40,
Yes, sir.
but there says 85.32.40. Unless is that a 32 or is that the bottom line of their Tim King's?
Yeah, it does say 32, and I'm not sure where the difference is. He might have made a, right now, off the top of my head, I don't know,
Traction error.
very possibly. Either he did or I did.
Well, let's do a little math here.
Let's do a little math there.
2, 3, 6. The columns all add up.
The columns should-
Equals 13,345, so that adds up, minus 4785.6 equals. So I get, when I add up what's in those columns,
I don't
the
think
number
that-
you have at the bottom, $8,559.40.
Yeah, that's what I did. He
Okay.
made a mistake. Tim King made a mistake.
It's his, it's Tim King's invoice that you should be looking at,
Yeah.
Right.
not Mike's calculation. Sorry, Mike.
That's all right.
Nope,
No problem.
you are correct.
You know.
No, you're correct.
Well, let's,
So lift up your head, don't you, Mike?
let's try adding these up.
Looks like we might have caught an error in his calculation. We ended up with 13,345 instead of 13,318.
Right.
He's-
Yep.
That's written right
That's
there.
it. That's his.
Right.
that's his wrong.
Yeah.
So his math was wrong.
Oh, 'cause this.
Well, if you look off to the side with the arrow on his invoice, off to the left of the total,
Yeah, that was our
That's
handwriting.
Their calculation,
Correct.
yeah.
Well, I'm not inclined to shortchange the guy because he can't do math. So I think we should pay the actual amount of the detailed items.
Yep.
Any questions about the concrete work? I will say in terms of the exercise thing, so it's all set up. If you haven't checked it out, it's really cool. We obviously still have some fairly large piles of tailings around. They'll get moved out as we do the pathways. I know Park and Rec is going to discuss maybe doing an opening ceremony or something. So we'll get a ribbon cutting, we'll get a little publicity around it, and I think we'll start to see some folks in it soon. I hope so.
Every time I go by, I see people using it. So.
yeah.
Mike, I noticed they didn't put any saw cuts in the harvester bay. Are they needed? Did they decide they weren't needed?
Yes, I suggested that they were not needed inside that area. In my opinion, it's not being exposed to any weather, and I don't believe saw cuts are needed in that bay.
All right, any further discussion? Do I hear a motion to pay to Tim King for concrete work $8,559.40?
Support.
Motion Nagy, second Nedrow. Further discussion? Roll call vote.
Scott.
Yes.
Nedrow.
Yes.
Sinkwitz.
Yes.
Amy.
Yes.
Nagy.
Yes.
Wozniacki.
Yes.
Umbo.
Yes.
All right, brings us to, I think, the second half of that story, CF Long pay request for concrete.
That's, I pretty well discussed that, and if the council has any questions on this one, I'd be glad to answer it.
Do I hear a motion to pay to CF Long $4,785.60 for the cement used in those projects?
So moved.
Second.
Motion Nedrow, second Scott.
Do we have an invoice for that effect?
Yes, I have them all attached to mine.
It's in the back.
It's right on the back.
It's on the back.
Oh, there it is, I'm sorry.
Okay.
And I believe that was actually concrete, not cement.
Yes, you're correct.
Yep.
Cement comes in powder form, and concrete is Right.
My wife having been a seller of cement products, if I do
You
not
know the
get this right,
difference.
I'll hear about it. So the motion is for paying for concrete.
Yes.
Further discussion? Roll call vote?
Metro?
Yes.
Sinkwitz?
Yes.
McGee?
Yes.
Nagy?
Yes.
Kaznecki?
Yes.
Humble?
Yes.
Scott?
Yes.
All right, number 5, Cadillac asphalt pay request, 387217.
Okay, this is, it's actually less 5%. It's $36,790.81. As you can see, hopefully you were copied on their actual invoice and my changes to the invoice. Each one of the invoices that you've seen, I've made substantial changes to it based upon actual measurements. He and I have been going around and around on a number of items, but you can see I came up with close to $15,000 less in cost than what he was actually invoicing us for. Fairly big company. He's invoiced us a couple times for the same items, things like that. And so this is second to the last bill. Last will be cleanup items. He and I need to sit down because he has some discrepancies and I have some. And but this is holding back 5% on the previous invoice and this invoice, as well as some discrepancies. And so we're really still holding back about $19,000 from what he's looking for. We have plenty of money, and we have a couple issues. We have some subcontractors that haven't been paid that they hired that wasn't part of our contract. You know, they had some film done and various other things. So we've been notified that some subcontractors haven't been paid. So we need to resolve all those issues before I release enough funds to balance of the project. So I do recommend paying them that $36,790.81.
We're just gonna have basically a 10%.
Well, it ends up being 5% in the last two contracts,
Okay.
which is actually under 5% for the entire project.
And that will put the end of it. then.
That'll be put-
The other stuff you still gotta negotiate out for the bottom line, because I guess your goal was to get Cadillac all done and paid for it out of here before we proceeded with the pathways, right?
That is correct.
Okay.
You are absolutely correct.
Any further questions?
Is the motion for the 38,727?
No, the motion is for
36,790.81.
36,790.
Yeah, so not the number that's on the agenda, but the number that's on the
Correct.
invoice.
Correct.
That's right.
Yep.
Typographical error.
Okay. Do I hear a motion for payment of $36,790.81 to Cadillac Asphalt as presented?
So moved.
Motion Nedrow, second Nagy. Further discussion? Seeing none, roll call vote.
Sinkwitz?
Yes.
McGee?
Yes.
Nagy?
Yep.
Kaznecki?
Yes.
Humble?
Yes.
Scott?
Yes.
Nedrow?
Yes.
All right.
Thank you, council, very much.
Thank you, council. I think that was all we had for the engineer.
Till item D, probably.
Ah, yes. Oh, yes. All on item B, though. Brings us to Joanne Sullivan. Tiki Candle event financial report, and then a request to proceed with the 2015
Microphone.
purchase.
Microphone, Mike.
Yes.
Good evening. Thank you again, Council, for your continued support of the Tiki Candle Project. All of the money from the volunteers has been collected and turned back into the village. Starting with Administrator Miller, I'd like to thank her and the members of the office staff. I'd like to thank Andy Stone, who did a wonderful job and so accommodating to us in the fall and in the spring. He's a great guy, and this will
Look out,
become
Andy, she
more
wants something.
apparent in a few minutes. In addition, I would like to thank John Ellison, Nancy Vickery, Jean Matkowski, Tom Sullivan, John Scott, Linda Champagne, Brian and Christy Nedrow, Pam and Tom Kaznecki, Grant, Schuyler, Reese and Reed McNutt, who have shown Grandpa what real salespeople are like. We were pleased with the tiki candle, the new tiki candles that we got from English Gardens this year. So much so that I'm willing to make a recommendation to go with them again for next year. As you might recall, we got the candles last fall for this year's Tiki Night because we were able to take advantage of a price break last year. I apologize for the request to purchase getting to you at the last minute tonight. You know that's not how I generally operate, but that information came to me after your packet was prepared, and I thank you for adding it to the agenda this evening. By ordering the candles again this fall, we are able to take advantage of a price break because there will be an increase in the spring if we wait to purchase them then. And Andy has graciously agreed to store these candles again this fall and over the winter time and get them out for us in the spring when we need them again. What else? So if you were pleased with the candles and agree with the arrangement that we have with English Gardens, I would recommend that you approve the purchase. Thank you.
I would make a motion that based on the chairperson's report that we purchase our candles for 2015 currently. Do we have a figure?
For the 2015?
Yeah, for $4,838.40, I believe.
Okay.
So I hear a motion to purchase tiki candles for 2015 Tiki Night at a cost not to exceed $4,838.40. Do I hear a second?
Second.
So motion Sinkowitz, second Nagy, discussion. Thank you to all the tiki volunteers. Really successful, really good candles. I think everybody was much more pleased with them than the previous ones. Mr. Scott?
I just had a general question, Joanne. Is there a reason why we might not be able to move it from 250 to 275? I mean, just out of the question of losing the $750 difference that comes out of your surplus? You are going to be in the negative next year, am I right or wrong?
No, we're going to be in, we'll have a surplus of $191.
Yeah, it's $3.25 next year.
Yeah.
Right, and we sell them for 250, right? So we lose
No,
some-
we purchase them for $320, we sell them for $325.
Oh, okay.
This
All
year,
right.
we were able to sell them for $250 because
Gotcha.
we had a surplus last year.
Gotcha. All right.
Further questions? Discussion?
It's harder to make change on the boat when it's 325, I can
Yeah,
tell you
it is
that.
Make
The
it tough,
250 is
huh?
pretty convenient, really. I mean, that's a good number there. But it is what it is.
Buy them in fours.
Life is
right.
tough.
Yeah.
Buy them in fours and you don't have to.
It's a hard old tiki candle world out there.
Paper changer, you know.
Yeah.
So we've got the McNutt youth out there ready to change. Okay, seeing no further discussion, let me get a roll call vote.
McGee?
Yes.
Nagy?
Yes.
Wozniacki?
Yes.
Coco?
Yes.
Scott?
Yes?
Nedrow?
Yes.
Sinkowitz?
Yes.
Thank you, council.
Thank you,
Joanne.
council.
Thanks, Joanne.
Thank you.
Thank you, Grandpa Makowski. All right, item D, Commerce Township Wolverine Lake Intergovernmental Wastewater Treatment Agreement. I think I'll maybe start with our engineer.
All right, I was thinking maybe Sharon might want to
Jump on,
summarize it.
whichever one of you
but,
wants it.
Would you like me to
Go
start?
ahead.
Okay. As council knows, we're trying to close a deal on the Redwood property, the previous Larry Curran property that the village is now in ownership of. As part of that, they've submitted site plans for 176 units in that piece of property, along with another piece of property that used to be owned by E.R. Thomas. During the negotiations, there was a need to sell the taps that we had prepaid from Commerce Township. There were about 160 taps left over from the project that were not used by the Heron Hills development. And those prepaid taps were paid for back in 2001, and they were divided up per the, I don't know, Sharon, do they have a
Yeah.
copy of the overall plan?
They do. It's difficult to read, but they do have it.
This colored, mine is colored, yours is probably in black and white. But this plan right here identifies the different parcels up in the Panhandle that purchased taps back in 2001. The E.R. Thomas piece had 72 taps allotted to it, although not to complicate things, those were not pre-purchased, so they were just allotted that 72 REUs or taps for that parcel. The ones that were purchased are the 232 taps for the Heron Hills development piece, of which the village now owns a portion of that property that was part of that project. There was an issue that came up with the township engineer, and his concern was that those prepaid taps could not be used for any property outside of what they were allocated for. So we had 160 REUs or taps left over that hadn't been used yet, but only about only about 54 units were actually going to be placed, units were going to be placed on the village parcel. The rest were going to be on the E.R. Thomas piece. I want to make sure I'm getting a little too complicated here. Bottom line is, Commerce Township had a concern of using prepaid taps that were allocated for one parcel on another parcel. That was one of the issues. We had a meeting in the village hall here. Mr. Zoner came, their engineer came, Sharon and I met with them. We discussed what the concerns were, and it was agreed in that meeting that Commerce probably didn't have a problem with this new project using all the prepaid taps that the village owned on any parcel up in the Panhandle. Problem is, it had to be taken back to the administrative committee, you might say, the in-house officials and their engineers and their attorneys for approval of that. They met the following Tuesday or the following Wednesday, and they approved that. So we essentially got that one out of the way, and we can use any of the prepaid taps on any of the properties up in the Panhandle. During that process of their in-house review, their sharp attorney noticed that our intergovernmental agreement restricted something else. And if you recall, back in 2001, Commerce Township was concerned that the village ordinance would actually have allowed maybe a high-rise on that piece of property, on those properties. So the board back then was concerned, so they wanted to kind of control how the village developed in that area. Bottom line is, if you look on page 2 of the intergovernmental agreement, there's one line there that says, and I quote, if I can find it here quickly.
No parcel of land depicted on Exhibit A shall be permitted to utilize more capacity than allocated on Exhibit A?
That is correct. So although the overall total remained the same, this particular provision did not allow the 118 units to be used on the E.R. Thomas piece when only 72 taps were allocated for that. The officials of Commerce Township do not believe it's going to be an issue. However, the strict interpretation of this intergovernmental agreement prohibits what the Redwood project is trying to accomplish. So everyone's agreement is that the two boards had to modify this agreement. And instead of just striking out this sentence here, they requested us to revise the Exhibit A to combine those two properties. And if you take a look at the revised Exhibit A of 8/7/2014, the line between the E.R. Thomas piece and the Heron Hills property, or the village property, has been removed, so that the entire parcel now is one, and 324 REUs or taps are allocated for the entire project. That eliminates the problem. I do want to point out that we forgot to remove the 72 up there as well, so that'll have to be canceled out as well. So that's immaterial and shouldn't be part of the motion. While we're cleaning up the agreement, down in item number 3, or section number 3 in the agreement, the original agreement still identifies the fact that the southern portion of the village, the southern district that used to go into the Benstein Road sanitary sewer, is not included in this agreement. We've since turned that sanitary sewer around, and all the flows now go into the Commerce Township treatment plant. So the agreement needed to be amended, and it was approved under a separate agreement. But this agreement should be cleaned up, identifying the fact that that sewage now goes into the Commerce Township sanitary sewer treatment plant, and it coincides with the facts in the ground now. So we're looking to change the gallon amounts and the REU, the total REUs, into the Commerce Township plant, as I have identified there. 2,310 REUs, which corresponds to so much gallon flow. So we're looking for council to make a motion to modify the agreement as the revised Exhibit A, and then the modifications in Section 3 of the agreement. The Township Board will then meet on the 19th, this next week, and hopefully approve the same thing. As soon as that happens, the Redwood project can be permitted through Commerce Township and receive all their taps.
All right, let me get a motion on the floor, and then let's go into discussion. So do I hear a motion to approve the amendments to the intergovernmental wastewater treatment agreement with Commerce as presented,
Including a revision to Exhibit
including
A.
the revision to Exhibit A?
Yes.
Further revision to
Yeah.
Exhibit
So
A,
moved.
because
Yeah.
that's an important number to come off of that.
Yes, that's true.
So motion
Support.
Scott, second Nedrow. Yes, the agreement and Exhibit A, both
Yep.
included in that motion.
Right.
And let me go, actually, my first question was going to be to the attorney. Any concerns about this?
I think when I first saw the Exhibit A, because Exhibit A is what concerned me, and when we talked about it, I said, well, they're combining the property, why don't we add the numbers? But I still saw the 72 on there, so
Yeah.
I thought,
Yeah.
this is, how are we solving this problem? But, okay, I get it.
We added it together, but forgot to subtract that one
Yeah.
number.
I get
Well,
it.
is that significant, though? I mean, because it's
Yeah.
on, it's, yeah. I mean,
That's
it's-
why I'm
it's-
saying.
Yeah,
it's on
Exhibit A
the
needs to be
Yes.
accurate. So it will actually be Exhibit A revised 8/14/14.
That is
Okay.
correct, with the removal of that 72.
Right.
We'll take care of that.
Right.
Otherwise, I'm good.
Questions?
That'll be revised as of today's date, 8/14, or no?
I assume he'll do the revision tomorrow, so.
Yeah, I'll probably do the revision tomorrow and present it to the Commerce Township the same way.
Seeing no further discussion or questions, and I think it's pretty clear what we need, and I think it's good for both communities. Can we go to a roll call vote?
Maggie?
Yes.
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 Thank you again, Council.
Thank you.
Clear as mud.
That was clearly presented, and it could have been a quagmire.
Could have been, yes.
We'll see how he does on the next one.
Yeah, you're not off the hook yet, but. Okay, item E, ACS Build Inc., pay request 27/5/24/33.
You got that?
I am going to have to let Sharon at least describe it because I do not have the paperwork with me. I apologize, unless you have it right there.
All I have is this.
The amount of work that has been completed thus far was reviewed by David Donlin, who is the village's consultant for the particular project. He reviewed all the pay requests from the contractor. The work that has been done so far is the preliminary work on the outside of the building and the lining up the subcontractors. The major amount of the work was done in the police department, and hopefully you've been in to see what changes have been made into that. Based upon the architect's review of the work that has been completed thus far, we are recommending payment to, I forget, ACS Building, $27,524.33 for the work completed thus far on the building renovation project.
And that's with a 5% retainage or whatever that is? Because there is.
Yeah, there is
Yes.
a 5% retention.
Correct.
So let me see if I can get a motion, and then we'll go into discussion. Do I hear a motion to pay ACS Build Inc. $27,524.33?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Motion Cumbo, second Nagy. Discussion. I would like to say that if you haven't had a chance to go up and look at the police the police department now.
It's nice.
It's much more functional. The space is a lot more functional now, so.
We are making some final adjustments, and it's really, it's gonna be so much better.
Any further discussion?
Well, I have a question, even though it's my motion. We're doing this based on the architect's appraisal of the work.
Review of the work and the invoices done today.
I mean, there seems to be, I mean, there's like a building inspector
Well,
or an
we
engineer.
had a meeting and we went through all of this. It was all on a spreadsheet. Mike was there, I was there, the architect was there, and we went, and ACS was there. So we went through all of this, and it's all been signed off, that the work has been done.
So it's architect, administrator, and engineer.
Is
have all
he gonna
reviewed.
be the one that's gonna approve everything for the whole project? Donnelly?
He will be, that is correct. He and I meet periodically regarding the project, and he requested permission to not be here at this meeting, but he is responsible, it's his drawings, and so he's responsible to make sure the work is done according to the contract documents.
Does our building inspector get involved at all?
He gets involved in making sure the work meets code, but he does not get involved in the payment to the contractor.
Okay.
But when it reaches this stage, though, the building inspector has been part of the process, as you have, as the architect has, and as the administrator has, right? All four?
That is correct.
And only those four. I mean, that's what, those are the process, those are the people involved in determining that we're ready to pull the trigger on the payment, right?
That is correct.
Further discussion? Question? Roll call vote?
Kaznecki?
Yes.
Humble?
Yes.
Scott?
Yes.
Metro?
Yes.
Singlett?
Yes.
Heath?
Yes.
Nay.
Yes.
Thank you, council. Okay, ACS Build Inc. change orders number 4, number 6, number 7, and number 8.
These are actually all deductions from the pay request, or not from the pay request, but from the contract itself. There are some additions, but we're not ready to make recommendations on those yet. The contractor hasn't brought those back with precise dollar amounts. And if you recall, most of these were done at some request from council to go through various options, engineering type feasibilities, to be able to see if we can't remove some money out of the project, as well as enhance maybe the project a little bit. Couple of the items here, if I could go through. The rough carpentry, we've modified some of the rough carpentry to not have to remove the stucco and the insulation that's behind the stucco. That was a whole different process where you would have to take all that off. We'd lose the insulation value. I know that was an issue that Mr. Nagy talked about. This relatively minor savings is use the existing material and just put a piece of 1/2 inch, 3/4 inch plywood right over top of the existing material and tie it back to the stringers or the wall joist in the wall itself. To do that precisely right, they're going to actually take some strips right off, horizontal strips off the facade, put 2x6 stringers, or actually 5/4 stringers horizontally to be able to tie the plywood onto, but they don't have to remove all the exterior of the building. All they have to do is add to it. So based upon that removal of some work and adding some work, we ended up with a total of $1,900 savings to that particular line item, and that's change order number 4.
And that should actually provide us with more insulation in the finished building.
Yes, because we're leaving not only the ephes that's there, the outside skin, but also 1-inch styrofoam is going to remain on the outside of the building.
And you're adding 3/4 plywood on top of that?
We're adding 3/4 plywood on top of that, and then the hardy board gets attached to that 3/4 inch plywood. Change order number 6, and it was kind of an interesting discussion here because they went through the pros and cons. This savings of $473 is actually a savings if we use factory applied paint, so factory painted, which gives us a 15-year warranty, so it's actually a savings for doing that. The original bid was for field painting, so once the dust settled, everything went back and forth, you'd think there would be a much better savings, but in order to use the factory surfaces, you had to buy some special caulk, and all the finishes had to be done right, nails had to be put in properly, and so there was a little more labor involved in it. They had to be more careful with the finish. Bottom line is to get a 15-year warranty on the paint, which was a prime objective. We ended up with a savings of $473. Change order number 7 then was a change in the garage roof detail. Remember, David Donnellan and his group were the architects, and so working with the contractor, they came up with a way to give the area above the garage doors, the police garage, virtually the same look, but instead of having the mansard roof come away from the building, come out from the building, it'll be a vertical face, and we removed they removed some of the columns and some of the architectural features on those garage doors. So there was a savings of $2,790 if they did that, and by doing it as well, they included the painting of the garage doors and a total mechanical overhaul of those garage doors as well. So we not only get something, the look is going to be the same, and we ended up with a $2,790 savings on that one. Number 8, this is part of actually that same, the piers in the front of the garage, they were separate piers on their own footings. There was a total savings of $130 if we took those piers off and did it in hardy board look on the surface of the garage itself instead of those piers. So we ended up with a savings then of $130 for that. We're looking for council to approve these change orders, which is really a reduction in the contract amount.
Do I hear a motion to approve change orders number 4, number 6, number 7, and number 8?
So moved.
Motion Nedrow,
Second.
second Kaznetti. Discussion.
Yeah, a couple of questions, Mike. The change orders that are missing there's no monetary value to them?
No, there are some monetary values to them. There'll be some added modifications, some extras. We aren't sure whether they're going to be accepted yet or not. The contractor went back to sharpen his pencil a little bit, give us precise dollar amounts, because in our discussions, we actually changed some of those. In the original change order, we felt those costs were too high, and we made suggestions, and so they're back re-quoting those change orders.
Okay, because I was curious, because if you look at the back of the sheet of change order 1 and change order 4, it says adds of $4,300. In the back sheet of change order number 8, it says adds of $3,520. What do those,
It's a great question. I apologize.
are those
Change order 8.
irrelevant, or are those some of these adders that we haven't seen yet that are still under discussion?
No.
If you do the math, Pat, shows like on change order 4, shows a credit of $6,200. And then the amount of change is $1,900, so if you do the math on that, that's where you come up with the 43, I believe.
Actually, but Pat is absolutely correct. I misrepresented that. The total add was $6,100. I am very, very sorry. $6,100 total add. By the reductions in the changes that were made architecturally, that was $1,900. So a total add of $4,300 for that change, not a reduction of the $1,900. I didn't carry that out far enough. Pat, thank you very, very much.
So what are we saying?
And the same thing on number 8.
Well, no, I think on number 4.
No, number
Did I do
4
that
number
wrong?
4, we have a credit of
you got a credit of
$6,200 for the paint,
Yeah,
but then an add of
$4,300.
$4,300, so that's where we come up with
Like
that.
Brian's
That's
right,
the
so if the
difference.
net on
$1,900
that is
savings.
Okay.
That's the difference between the two.
Well, yeah, that's
Right.
right, but
Yeah.
that's right.
Okay.
And maybe that's not the case on number 8, I don't.
Yeah, number 8 is the ads that are, it nets $130, but it's $3,650 in credit for what was removed.
And minus
and then
130, that's where the
35.20 for what was
3520
added.
comes.
Yes.
The math, it all
Okay.
works out.
Yes,
That
okay,
worked out.
thank
It
you.
just was a little confusing.
Yes, thank you.
That's okay, actually, I had the
You
same.
caught me confused as well.
The other
Not
confusion
put that.
was the $6,200 figure. The cost code was 6,100.000, so don't confuse that as 6,100 bucks.
Good point. Then that's why your question caught me. Yes, thank you.
I have a couple of questions. One, I mean, the demo of the whole building, to take all the old stuff off, was only 6,200 as part, that was a portion of the 380,000, whatever.
That is correct.
seems remarkably cheap, frankly, to me. I don't know, but maybe that's accurate, and it must be accurate. The second comment, I guess, or question is regarding the hardy board color.
Yes.
I just recently did my home, and how, my understanding of it, and I'm no builder, but is that when you get the pre-painted and match these things together, that is, it often shows as a flaw. Where if you paint it after it's installed, it does not. Now, whether that's significant in terms of saving money versus the architectural look of the building and the appearance, that's maybe a discussion we should have, but, and I'm assuming that's what I've heard. And I based my home decision on that belief, so, take for what it's worth, that's my understanding of that. So it's not like apples and apples, it's different. It's gonna look a little different.
It will look a little bit different. A great deal of discussion was revolved around that because they have to order special wax that they fill the ends of the butt joints together, so when they put them together, it actually blends beautifully and they wipe it clean. Because you're right, otherwise there'd be a joint there. So they have to do that on all the finished sides and where they butt together.
So what is the savings on that? What's changed that in 6, I think, or 7, maybe 7?
That was change order 6. Savings was $473.
Well, the other thing was that the factory pre-painted material had a 15-year warranty.
Right.
On the painting. If we paint it, it's not gonna have 15-year warranty on the paint.
Well, that might be the case, but I don't think, if we believe in the product, and I happen to believe in the product, I think it's gonna far exceed 15 years. I don't think that's ever gonna come into play, frankly. But I think it is gonna look different. And despite the wax and all the other things to kind of cover it up, I don't believe it's gonna look as good. Now, it isn't significant, it is $500 or so, so, I mean, I don't take that lightly, but I don't think it is, I don't think it's gonna look as.
Most
Let-
people,
let-
most people that use hardy plank then, when they build a house, they paint it for that reason.
Yeah.
It's because of different lot numbers in the
Well,
sense
it's just, you know,
that-
the material,
Run
the time of
numbers.
day, how the humidity is.
Yeah.
It's like painting a car. You wouldn't paint half the car on Friday and go back and paint the other half on Monday and expect it to look the same. And then the wax and the nails, this way everything gets up, all your caulk is in, your corners are done, and you paint over it. But then again, when stuff sits
15
outside in the
years.
sun, one side of the building's gonna fade quicker than the other side, so, you know, I guess you have to go with the manufacturer,
I guess I don't have a strong.
Was
view
it
one way or
a
the
significant
other.
concern for the architect?
It didn't appear to be a concern to the architect at all. There was representation from the builder that he did it to his own home, and he painted it, and he was going on 7 years, and his paint still looked virtually brand new. But the architect seemed to think that if we can get the factory warranty on the finish, that was a fairly major item.
It would be interesting because their warranty is not they're gonna come out and repaint it. If you have a problem for whatever reason, because I'm familiar with it, I think the warranty is there's a certain percentage.
Prorated.
Prorated,
Like a
like
battery.
a car tire, so, you know, but there's more than one people that make that hardy board and hardy plank and all that other stuff, so, you know, I mean, it's, I guess you gotta go with the faith.
I think it's generally accepted that it looks better if it's painted after it's installed. And I think that Donlin is being, and gratefully so, that being very sensitive to the issues that we've led into to this vote. The fact that we're trying to not be overdoing everything and saving money wherever we can. And I appreciate his efforts to kind of trim things down incrementally as he's moving forward, so.
See, the other thing
Yeah.
is that when I think of adding all that outside width that every window's gotta be completely redone. You're not gonna just replace the window, you're gonna have to all around the window and everything, because now you've got almost another 1.5 inches on the outside, so I don't know how, who figured what, but, you know, if it comes out and the numbers are what everybody's happy with, fine, but that also becomes a concern. Now you have to reframe and redo all, yeah, do all the windows over.
Yeah, certainly.
The 3/4 inch
Well, yeah,
exterior
he's gonna
grade,
put
yeah.
up he's gonna put up
Mhm.
the 3/4 and then the hardy plank, so,
Yeah.
you know, it's not like.
What they have done, and one of the change orders you don't have here, is the change in that detail. The original detail that those windows were going to be boxed out away from the original wall. As a cost savings, they're looking to eliminate that boxing out and just replace the windows in their current plane and box around the windows to address the issue that Ed just brought up. So it has been done, and we're looking for another cost savings in that detail.
Or will they be using a wrap between the 3/4 and the inside face of that hardy board?
Yes, a
Yes.
Typar wrap,
Right
correct.
there? Okay.
Yep.
Well, short of removing the change request, separating them, the motion now exists for all four,
The motion now exists,
or all, four.
you know,
They can certainly be separated, because I have no personal knowledge of the hardy board. It's a savings of only $473, so if council believes the look of the building would be better with a field applied paint, it's certainly virtually a wash.
Would the hardy board look more like real wood? Because if there's slight color differentiation, because, you know, we have cedar in our house and we stain it like every 7 years, and there's still differences from board to board to board, but that kind of gives it that natural look.
I think the difference is not so much board to board to board, but all the little imperfections where the boards meet.
Oh,
Like
okay.
the creases all throughout the
And
building.
that product has kind of like a grain casted into it, so it's not smooth.
so, tell you what, let me see if I can get a friendly amendment to remove number 6 from the change orders to approve in this motion, and then let's talk about another motion for number 6. Does that sound good to everybody?
Mhm.
So, friendly amendment, the motion is now to approve change orders number 4, number 7, and number 8, and then let's talk about number 6. Are we good with that? All right, any further discussion on that motion?
We'll get into that.
Let me get a roll call vote.
Combo.
Yes.
Scott.
Yes.
Pedro.
Yes.
Sinkwitz.
No.
McGee.
Yes.
Maggie.
Yes.
Kaznecki.
Yes.
Okay, number 6, council's pleasure. I don't have any real good way of judging one way or the other. $473 total inside of this project does not seem like much. So I really don't, I just don't have the professional expertise to know if the 15-year warranty is better than the potential risk of some color mismatches. I don't know if we want to send that.
I suspect, not to interrupt it, but I suspect you'd fall on the side of the guarantee, which aligns ourselves with the recommendation from Donald. So I'm happy with that too.
And I would hope that ACS Build, if they had a question that things weren't gonna match up color-wise or integrity-wise on it, that they wouldn't suggest to go this route.
Yeah.
That discussion never even came up at our meeting, so
So do I hear a motion to approve change order number 6, but to ask the engineer and architect to review that change order to ensure that it is indeed what we want?
So moved.
A second.
So motion Nedrow, second Scott.
Why,
Further discussion?
why would we approve it if we don't know what the amount's gonna be then?
Well, either the amount is going to be minus 473 or it's going to go back to the original amount.
Right.
Okay.
So I think all we're saying is, take a look at it if you want, and this is what I intended that motion to say is, take another look at it, think about the color matching thing. If you still want to proceed down this route, we approve the change. If you think that is going to be an issue, now that you think about it, stop that change order and go back to the original painting.
In other words, leave it up to the architect's discretion?
Yep.
Okay.
My sense of it is, for the 473, I would rather we do whatever's the right thing to do for this building, I just don't know which is.
Right.
And I think that's the architect's discretion.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, so everybody clear on that?
Mhm.
Can we get a further
Is
discussion?
that a motion on the floor? right
Yeah,
now?
that is a motion on the floor. Further discussion? Roll call vote?
Scott?
Yes?
Nedrow?
Yes.
Sinkowitz?
No.
McGee?
Yes.
Nagy?
Yes.
Kaznecki?
Yes.
Humble?
Yes.
All right, thank you, council. And I think we were clear on discussion from there, you can bring it back to it. Okay, brings us to item G, Citizen of the Year. The admin committee reviewed. Okay, glad to see we don't have our candidate here. Maybe we can surprise him on Friday night. But we reviewed and we recommended Mike Stack as our first Citizen of the Year for this year. Everybody here is really familiar with Mike and all that he has done in this community, so I would be, piling on at this point to just point out that I honestly do not know anybody else in this community who does more work to benefit the community as a whole, puts more hours into things, and has done that consistently. And I am sure that is why Commerce Township also selected him as their resident of the year, citizen of the year. So that was our recommendation. Do I hear a motion from the floor?
I'll make a motion.
Second.
So motion from Kaznecki, second Nagy, to award our first Citizen of the Year award to Mike Stack. And
Mr.
present
Chairman.
Friday night.
Maybe we should recognize Ms. Champagne, who actually put Mike's name up for nomination.
An excellent nomination.
Yes.
So any further discussion on that? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And I will be presenting that Friday night. Item H, recommendation from Planning Committee. Planning Commission recommends council appoints Alexis Scholl to Planning Commission to fill a vacancy with a term expiring 12/31/14. She could not be here tonight. She did send a letter saying she would wait for the next council meeting. I don't think we need to do that, but I think I would like Brian to tell us about our candidate.
Well, she did attend the meeting, and we questioned her fairly decently. I think she's gonna be real good for the planning commission. She's, as you read, if anybody read their packet here, she's got some good qualifications. She seems eager,
Yeah.
and she stayed for the whole meeting. So, I'd be glad to have her on the board, so.
Always a bad sign when an applicant leaves during the meeting.
That's right.
So with that, I think I would entertain a motion to appoint Alexis Scholl to the Planning Commission with a term expiring 12/31/14, to be sworn in by the clerk at the village office before the next meeting.
I'll make that motion.
And the next Planning Commission meeting, I should say. Motion Nedrow, actually, I think I heard a second from Nagy first.
Fine.
Further discussion?
Why is the term expiring in?
She's filling
She's
the.
filling Frank Triomfi's term.
Yeah, so Frank Triomfi resigned.
You have to fill that term before you
Yeah.
can go for another one?
Yep.
Yep.
All right.
And incidentally, she did have planning chosen number one on her application, so I thought that was neat too. She wanted to be on the planning board.
All right.
Shoot, maybe I want her in Park and Rec. I don't know, law school student, yeah, I think planning.
Well,
might
not
be
too
a
late,
good
because we
fit.
haven't voted yet, but I think they got dibs. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Now it is too late.
I voted for her.
Okay. That brings us to second call to the public, an opportunity for citizens to address the council regarding any and all village business. In the back, Champagne.
Linda Champagne, 250 Oak Island. Couple things. Really wanted to compliment everybody that had anything to do with Glengarry Road. It's so unbelievably cool. It's kind of like, it's just a beautiful road to drive down. Like the extensions too. I've seen a lot of people walking and biking, and it's kind of a lot safer. The exercise station, I know John was working out on it yesterday.
Tell me about
And
it.
feeling the
It was
pain last night.
embarrassing.
I can see the
That looks
difference.
really,
5
really
o'clock
great
in
from
the
the road,
morning.
and I too have seen people at it almost every time I drive down Glengarry.
Yeah.
Love the landscaping of the signs, I think that really helps, it looks really nice, so I wanted to thank you guys for getting that going. I don't know what happened between Oak Island Drive and Canal, but somehow or another, that big segment there got paved. So there can no longer be a fence. I think the new owner of the home there asked the paving company to dump some asphalt there. So now we have a permanent opening, which is okay, except for there is no yield sign, no stop sign, so people keep flying through there. And so I think we need to look, I mean, that's now a permanent piece of asphalt unless we want to remove it, that there needs to be some kind of a caution between those two roads that are coming together. The residents there are always stopping. There's, people just seem to fly through Canal onto Oak Island, or vice versa the other way without seeming to care about who's coming up the hill or down the hill. So I would hope that we can look into what we need to do there. Mostly, what I wanted to do tonight was, I'm sure that most of you know that Roger and Tonya Bush are moving to Denver to be with their 2 children and all their grandchildren, which will be a loss to Parks and Recs and to the walkways. But John and I really, I worked with Roger a number of years on Parks and Recs, and his effort was, most amount of effort that he's put into these walkways. And I'm really hoping that the administrative committee of the council will look to doing a plaque or possibly a Cliff Cottrell nomination, something to honor him for all the work he put into and getting these united walkways to the point they are now. Without Roger, I don't think it would have happened. So that's all we have.
Roger Bush Memorial Walkway.
It could be the Bush Route.
Thank you.
Bush route.
The bush route.
Push right around the village.
All right, anybody else second call to the public?
Alex,
Let's
Well,
get
well,
get him a microphone there.
Oh! One less mic.
$90.
Just wiped out our audit.
I'd like to echo as to what Linda said. I've been away for 6 months. I came back, and the Glengarry Road, the additions to the walkways and everything that's been done is really, really nice to see. But I plead with this council. You had a discussion earlier about a bridge over here on South Commerce. Don't build one like you built on Benstein Road, because it's awful. Something like we have right here at the spillway would be very, very pleasant to view. But, I mean, I come home and the weeds again, and I don't know if it's Oakland County to take care of it. I know our people have in the past, and then there's boards that are twisted and coming up, and I don't even walk it, but just driving by, it's just a sight. And I just don't think with everything we're doing to improve this community, we need something like that on that corner which stands out. It's bad enough that we have it on Benstein. And Mike, you being, and sorry, council, I don't mean to address, but you being in charge of what's going on, I really need you to look, I feel I need you to look into something that is representative of what we're trying to do in the community. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else second call to the public? Seeing none, I will close the second call. Item J, Michigan Fireworks Safety Act, item placed on the agenda by Councilperson Nagy. Pat.
Yeah, I looked into this fireworks, the last 4th, besides the Tiki Night fireworks, it just seems to get out of hand. I know there's in some legislatures are trying to get this 2011 Act number 256 rescinded. I think it's got a little bit out of hand, and I just stated some reasons here. I'd just like to review them a little bit, because what I'm proposing to do is we send a letter to the state, our state representatives relative to revenue sharing, and I would just like to be able to put something in writing to our state representatives relative to this Fireworks Act and see if maybe we can get it rescinded. A couple of things I've noted here: loud noises at all hours, hard to enforce. I'm not saying you can't enforce it. Captain Ellsworth, but I mean, it's, when things go up, you don't know who did it, okay? I can appreciate that, okay? And damage to the property, injuries, and death, I mean, not saying that happened in Wolverine Lake. You know, children, the elderly, and veterans and pets should not be subject to noise, especially what sounds like 26 of dynamite going off. They even rattle my windows. Pets shouldn't have to be sedated like my little poodle is sedated. And the litter and the stuff that falls from the air all over the sidewalks and all over the streets. And I just don't think it's worth the additional revenue that the state is getting for it, okay? I mean, I've read a number of articles about it, and there's one senator here, Senator Glenn Anderson from Westland, is trying to seek support to do this, and I'm just saying that we need to send a letter to him or to our representatives if the council so approves it, just to sort of reinforce it. And that's my opinion. You people may have your own opinion, but I just think we need to, I think it's just got a little out of hand. I mean, now that they made it all legal, I think, I know from a Captain Ellsworth, from a law enforcement point of view, I know it's hard for you. I'm not trying to speak for you, but to try to hear comments or whatever.
I guess my comments is that I have to go by the state law.
They actually took away an awful lot of our ability to restrict those fireworks. As a matter of fact, they spelled out when we could and when we couldn't. I think if they allowed different municipalities the option, I think it would be better off. I still think you could have your cake and eat it too if we were able to restrict even further than what they allow us to. If they pulled those restrictions, I think we would be able to legislate something locally where we'd be able to, it would be acceptable, maybe, for some. But unfortunately, they tied our hands.
Well, I would certainly support further rolling back of where we went with the fireworks. It has become during the summertime a constant disturbing of the peace, and not a 3rd of July and 4th of July thing, and not a Memorial Day thing, but it's.
The bad part is it's every holiday.
Well, it was there was one Saturday or
Halloween,
Sunday night.
Christmas,
Big
New
boom.
Year's,
Yeah.
that's ridiculous.
Like 10:30, whatever.
And unfortunately, they go off so randomly.
You can't do anything.
By the time we get to the area, all we see is embers, if anything, so.
Yeah, and it's not really that I'm against fireworks either. It's just these really large, commercial grade fireworks that we sell now. They're aerial bursts. They go up, and that noise propagates over a really large area. So
is the content of the letter to seek a way for municipalities to control it locally?
Well,
or to eliminate?
my proposal was, one of the senators that I spoke with was trying to repeal the entire act.
The
okay?
entire act.
The entire act. That was his goal. And maybe what Captain
Go
Ellsworth
back
has
to
mentioned.
pre-2011. I think that's probably gonna end up being a compromise that they're gonna make in the House.
That could be.
And that's a great start, and I'll take what I can get. I don't think you can put the horse back in the barn. I think, I just don't see that legislatively. There's a lot of people out there with lobbying powers that are gonna be way in front of this. So they've been working to get this done for a long time.
Yeah, true.
I don't see them going back with it.
All right.
I do see them allowing local municipalities to regulate it, which I would be opposed to.
That might even prove more difficult. If it's regulated in Wolverine Lake and right across the road in Wall Lake, they don't do anything
Right.
about it. So did it come off that side of the road or this side of the road?
I agree.
Okay, so that might make it more difficult for you to try to enforce. I don't know. So I just, some way to, at least the way I feel, to let our state legislatures know that what's on the books right now is not good. I just think it's just, from the things that I've listed here, that we need to consider it. I mean, if council so approves, if not, I've already signed up with Senator Anderson and his group to try to rescind it. And I'd be happy to send a letter myself to our representatives, but I thought that maybe the council to do it as a village, to see if we can get some support to do something with this fireworks law.
I think it's, council's pleasure. We could do nothing. We could ask for full repeal of the law. We could ask for further control. We could write something crafty and vague that says we would, appreciate further review of the fireworks situation and improvements in the current law, which causes great disturbance of the peace. I mean, there are a lot of options there. We don't actually have a letter in front of us to
No.
vote or.
It was just thoughts that I put on a piece of paper, so, I don't know.
What's the sense of council?
Well, I guess my sense is what I'm listening to, the most important source of information here is, and also knowing how legislation does, as you say, once the horse is out of the barn, they're only going to feed a little bit more of it, is probably to write a letter that asks or recommends that there be restrictions to certain holidays where fireworks can be used, and more local control over the entire year of how fireworks can be, in fact, done through local ordinance in terms of control. I think that's where they're going to end up in the legislature.
And just so we're clear, there has been some adjustments in the laws regarding the storage and sales that allow different fire marshals to now restrict certain areas, where before, they weren't even allowed to restrict. And the type of sales, whether it be from tents in certain areas, they've given the local fire marshals the authority to restrict those areas by way of planning and that nature. So they have done some adjusting.
And we did get also, I believe it was authority to control after 1 AM.
Certain hours. And we had the day before, the day of, and the day after. And they did allow us to do that. But some municipalities have not done that. They can go for, they can do them anytime.
Yeah, I mean, the city of Warren isn't allowed to try to put their own restrictions, their own tweaking of the law, so.
So, since the council?
Whatever.
I think there's already overwhelming momentum to modify this law, and I think the concerns that are expressed tonight are well known in state legislature. I agree with Pat on some of the issues. I know a number of people that keep their dogs on, sedatives through that whole holiday season, but.
I myself had to buy a $40 Thunder shirt for my Beagle.
We got one of those.
Right. And I don't.
The state did not save me money with this law.
But I just, I don't feel comfortable sending a letter supporting the repeal of this law signed by the village council. I just think.
And we're all also free to contact our state legislators,
Yeah.
who will be easy to contact for the next few months because they're all running for reelection.
Yeah. That's whatever. I just wanted to get my concerns. I heard a lot of it from my neighbors too, just to try to put something in writing for whatever we want to do is fine with me. I mean, the suggestion about contacting them individually or doing something as a village council, whatever, okay. I just want to make my note, my thoughts and my neighbors' thoughts, make people aware of it.
All right. Well, then I think that's about all we've got on this one, and we can move on to item N, set topics for the August 2014 work session.
What
I
about
should-
the water board?
Oh, sorry.
KA.
Yep, KA.
K1-5.
K1. Weed harvesting, weed control, aeration. Mr. Sinkwicks asked me to put it on there, and then Mr. Scott had some expansion he wanted to do there, so let's go to Ed first.
Well, I guess my questions is that I thought that this type of weed control was going to be more effective than doing the shotgun effect, where we just do the whole shoreline. But some of the residents on the island said that they haven't seen any chemical or any cutting done in front on the main lake side. And I went by there on the boat. I know Ron's got a ton of weeds in front of his house, and the Kara is coming up. And I look at these two, I only got two of them. I couldn't find a third one, but when Progressive went out on 6/11 and 7/7, they're stating on here that we have a lake that has 295 acres of lake. Now, I probably get on the lake more than most people in here because I'm retired and I fish a lot. They treated 16 acres. out of 295. And they did 29 acres on 611. Now, part of that time, we didn't have a harvester, so I would have thought that, there'd be a little bit more. And I don't know how much the harvester's doing, and I know we've had some problems there, and we're regulating, but I can't believe, just from riding around it myself, that out of a 295 acre lake, that only 16 acres needed to be treated with chemicals. It's unbelievable. And the other thing I wanted to ask is, we sat here and talked about this. Two things, one is with aeration and one is with the chemical. I thought last year, and I brought it up, and we said that there was going to be an area where they're going to use granular, and we're going to compare how the granular worked against the liquid. Am I wrong?
My recollection is that we weren't going with the granular.
At all?
That's my recollection. I thought we were
Okay.
just going with the straight
Maybe-
aeration.
Maybe I'm in error, maybe it was wishful thinking, but I know a lot of lakes use granular, it's time released, it lasts longer, it doesn't hit the lake as bad where you have to worry about people swimming and all that stuff, but be it as it may. But the other concern I have is, now that we have the aeration in, and I pray and hope that the aeration works like they say it does, because that'd be great for our lake. But are we documenting anything? Do we know how much muck is at that one where that is, and how deep it is, and what it's gonna be like
Yeah,
next year?
there's been pretty
Has it been
extensive
done?
documentation of stuff, and the DNR, in fact,
Actually
is
done
part.
by satellite. Right on the
permit.
Yeah, as part of our permit,
It's required.
required us to document the basic steps and come back year after year. The permit includes the ability for them to take it if they're not happy with what it is, but it's gonna be a very fully documented process.
Okay, because I hadn't heard anything if we had any, I just wanted to make sure that that was being done.
Yeah, that was a lot of the back and forth with the DNR over which bits of documentation we could use, whether we had to reduce some measurements, things like
No,
that.
what I meant, before the unit goes in, do we have a measurement?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, water depth and muck, so then as time goes on, we can see.
Yeah, actually, Progressive A&E made that presentation to the water board. They have, I don't know what their expenditure was, $2,900 to buy the equipment to do it by satellite. So they can actually document quadrants, I think, as small as 8 by 8 through satellite.
Now, are they also gonna taking measurements along the shorelines?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
so
And-
that whole area has been measured to some extent where we can see if it's really working or not.
Yeah, the baseline is there. You also have to remember, and I think Sharon's gonna make that comment, we don't have the full aeration system in anyways, which is why I wanted to extract it from our agenda and just ask some questions, because there were penalties, I think, under the contract if they didn't get it in on time. Are we handling that? And
Well, it's not their problem that they're not in, it's DTE that hasn't
That's
fully.
holding them up, is what
Holding
you're
them
saying.
up. They
Yeah.
have, units 1 and 2 are operating,
Mhm.
and 3 and 4, as soon as the power is live for them, they will activate them. I just had conversations with Dave today from the pond guy, and they're waiting for DTE, and then they had all those power outages, and so that set DTE back, and so it's not the pond companies
That's holding it up. It's
holding them
actually
up. So,
DTE
yes, and we did
line
have
up.
penalties on there if they didn't get theirs done, but they can't, we specifically had an exception that they can't be held responsible for,
Yeah.
DTE.
And Pond Guy does have all their equipment there, it's just,
They're
it's
ready.
just
Yeah,
I've
ready
seen that,
for the
yeah.
water to get dropped down.
And I think it's important to comment that once they get the electricity, it doesn't take them days to get their
No,
equipment in. They
no.
just drop it in,
They're
they're ready,
ready.
it's cut,
Yeah.
it's ready to go in.
Yep.
It is worth noting, though, that the final date, whatever the final date is for this, we should go back to the DNR, because we did have a meeting with them
Right.
and our state rep and our state senator and the head of the DNR, sorry, DEQ, to talk about the permitting process, the problems that we had that weren't, he was really good about talking through what had happened, trying to make sure that it didn't occur again going forward, trying to work with Dave Haddison for future permits, finding out why it was different here than the experience on the west side of the state. But, I think for sure coming back to him with the final day we were able to do it, and the final delay makes the point of, hey, this wasn't a delay of, 2 days or 4 days or a week that you guys introduced by sitting on our permit for 3 months.
Right.
You delayed us until late August
Mhm.
and essentially cost us a summer of aeration.
Right.
So, going back, are you done, John?
Well, I'll go back on the aeration. I was just going
Okay.
to say that I had made the suggestion, and now Sharon, I, and Cliff are going to get together very soon and plan a meeting, probably mid-September or something, after this is all operating, to concentrate on getting the public that's interested to come in and better understand what the aeration is and what their expectations should be. Because I know I've had conversation with some of the citizens where it's already in and they're talking about cloudy water and et cetera. Well, that's part of the natural thing that is going to happen. You won't see clear water in some of those areas for maybe a year or two. Well, this
Takes time for it to work through the
Sure,
process.
absolutely. That was my only comment.
Okay,
Okay, back to Ed.
getting back to my concern. Am I the only one that thinks that the only part of, the only 19 or 16 acres of a 295 acre lake needs to be treated with chemical? I think it's very light. I don't think we're getting, most of the people in the community are concerned about what they have in front of the house. Can they go out and swim? Can they get their boat in and out without getting choked out? Everything else that we're doing is good for the lake. It's health. But I just can't believe that seems like that's such an inordinately small number that we're missing something here.
What was the amounts, this was for this year?
Yeah.
What about what
Out
was
of 3
la-
applications, we haven't gone over 20 acres.
What was it compared to last summer?
I don't have that
I'm
information.
just curious what they did last year, because last year, there was no harvesting at all. I don't know if they did anything
Well, I'm
different
sure it would have
relative.
been more with
I would think
that,
so
but-
too,
Well,
You-
this
you have
wasn't
those
on the
numbers in front
agenda,
of you,
so
Ed?
we don't have
the
the
detail.
paperwork down here.
Yeah.
I didn't know we were gonna talk about this. But we do have a lake consultant. We've hired a lake consultant to make recommendations for what areas should be treated. The Water Management Board meets with the lake consultant several times a year, and I am not getting complaints here in the office. I don't know if the Water Management Board is getting complaints about the lake.
Well, there's a couple comments on it. First of all, I don't know where the 295 came from. because
He's
I
got it
was-
written up there on his.
Yeah,
It may be the area inclusive of the wetlands.
It has to be, because we don't have,
think I've
we have
seen that.
214 acres, 214.
Yeah, that number's popped up a couple times before, but it's like the area inclusive of every bit of wetland all the way around.
Yeah, and I think to put it into another context is that the whole idea between a limnologist being in the game is what he is doing, he is in fact spot treating. I see that there was more spot treating the first time he did it. I think we were probably dealing with 40, 45
Yeah.
acres.
And I agree with you. I think the
And-
spot
and-
treating is the way to go, not just do the whole lake and
Right.
hope that you got what you got. But, I mean, the spots look like in front of 4 homes.
Well, I don't know, if you look at all the red, I mean, that's where he's treating.
You have to look at the scale on
There's
that
a
too.
scale on it too. I mean, we know we're not gonna get treated in the deep holes, so I mean, it's no different than the harvesting that we talked about. At the end of the day, we're probably not gonna harvest any more than a total of 20 to 25 acres, or 10% of the lake. So,
we don't-
I would think it might be logical to go back at the water board next meeting and have comments come back from Paul as to, there's some concern about, A, the effectiveness, and B, how much he's treating as a percentage of the whole lake. I think, that's really why we hired him. He knows it, he knows what's going on. I mean, he's out there, in fact, we're treating this weekend again.
Well, it's incumbent on them, the water, then to
Yeah.
hold their feet to the fire,
And
basically.
part of that's because of rain, the biggest difficulty in doing chemicals is when you start to push as much rain and
Everything's
water
gonna
flow
dilute.
through here, your dilution factor is enormous, so he's fighting that issue too.
The other thing I want to bring up about that is, I had talked with Sharon that this Thursday application was apparently something that they decided to do, because we were typically saying that we were going to do Wednesday applications so the weekend would be free. I guess, I mentioned this before, but I don't see a problem that if we wanted to make sure that our weekends are left chemical-free and people can water their lawn and enjoy the lake, is there any, again, why can't they put the signs up on Friday night so they can do Monday or Tuesday? I mean, my understanding is that we usually give people a 2-day notice, but a 3-day notice wouldn't hurt. But, and I wonder what this, apparently this chemical is using, that if they start at the access and go all the way around the lake, and then 8 hours later, the lake is okay to get into, the only reason I can see that is so little the lake is being treated with chemical. But again, I would think that since we hired them and are paying them, that we could get a little more cooperation on the days that they do it, so we don't run into the weekend.
Well, and
Because
just,
most people's
just,
weekends start Friday night.
just a couple things there, and I hear what you're saying. The lake should be clear to use from 3 PM on Friday. But my understanding is that this treatment was pushed out because of the extraordinary rains we had Monday and Tuesday.
Good thing we didn't
They
do
were
it Monday and
unable,
Tuesday.
yeah, they were unable to get out, they were unable to post, and it was really unwise to do it immediately afterwards because we were bringing in so much water into the lake and so much was going out.
Yeah, we still are. We still
In
are.
terms of the general posting, I had thought the requirement, and I could easily be mistaken, I may be misremembering, I thought the requirement was posting 24 to 48 hours, that it wasn't you can
Wasn't
do.
that the minimum,
2
20,
days.
48?
It's 2 days.
It's 2 days, but it's not you can post 96 hours ahead either, is it?
No,
Yeah, it's 2 days ahead.
yes,
So we're kind of legally constrained with what we can do there.
3 days ahead?
2.
So if you did it on Friday, you would have to do it on Sunday. If you did it on Saturday, then you could do it on Monday, but then we would have to pay those guys overtime for working on a weekend and posting on a weekend.
I was under the impression that the 24 was the minimum.
But
the 48 was the
my
minimum.
recollection, and probably we shouldn't argue it out here because we
No,
don't
okay.
have it in front of us.
Okay.
But I'm just saying, I thought it was between 24 and 48 hours, that you can't do it more than 2 days in advance. You have to do it. And that's because they want it to be done close to the time so that people who are going to be there get the notice.
Right.
I think part of the meeting that we hope to host will include, I don't know if it's going to be possible, but will include some of the pond guy people, because they're going to be the individuals. And maybe bring in Paul and have his comments there.
Is
Because
this for your September meeting?
well, it's not a meeting, well, maybe coordinated through the water board, so we're not taking separate time away. But to have that commentary, because it is confusing if you look at it just in simple raw numbers and et cetera, as compared to the scientific eyes that are looking at what they're trying to do and what they're trying to control, and why they have to do delays like dumping too much water through the lake. And make it an open meeting. I would hate to think that some expectations were they were going to turn them on and all of a sudden they're going to walk at the end of their dock. I know one guy said, well, I expected it would clear it right up right away. It's getting muckier. And I said, well, no, it's just the opposite that you're going to see happen for a while. So good information, I think, is something that's very important here. So.
All right, anything else on lake management?
Can I make a quick comment on that?
Yes.
I got calls over the weekend about something that was happening up in Penny Lake. People were panicked because they saw bubbles coming up. They thought the lake was raining. So
Yeah.
if we can push out a little bit more.
A little more
A little more
information.
information to the residents, I appreciate it.
So everybody that lives in the Penny Lake Arm did receive notification
Yeah.
that was going to be happening, but like Ken, he had an experience when he came home and he saw the bubbles and he ran out there, thought a boat went down.
Boat was sinking, so.
So,
Scared the crap out of me.
yeah.
I
Yeah.
realized the mid-stride, I'm like, oh yeah, that's the air right here.
We live in an era of information overload, so not
Yes.
everybody
Yes.
was reading through that notice. But, the word will get out.
I'm
Yeah.
sure.
Okay, that brings us to item N, set topics for August 2014.
This gentleman was on the agenda added on, wasn't he?
So, sorry, sir, who are you? Rick Kucera.
See, we didn't,
See, we had the thing there, I thought you were gonna speak during public comment.
Nobody told me what to do, so that's not that I was getting at it.
I'm sorry, I thought you were gonna speak during public comment. He has been waiting a long time here.
I'm sure, let him.
Do I hear a motion to open to
Yeah,
Mr.
so
Kucera?
moved.
Yeah, okay, so I got a motion, Sinkowitz, second Scott, further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, yes, Mr. Kucera, come on, I apologize, I thought you were gonna speak during public comment.
Rick Kucera, 1380 Apple Orchard. And I guess I just wanted to discuss this. I've been working on this with Sharon and Mike about my side of my house on Glengarry, my yard that I spent 20 years maintaining and crimping and putting sprinklers in, and then I come home one day and I got a 4-foot ditch, 120 feet down Glengarry, all my sprinklers ripped out, tree roots all over, and I was told by Mike that Sharon told me to deal with Mike, so I started dealing with Mike. He called me out, apologized that he was the one that did it. He assured me that he would haul topsoil in, he would soften that ditch so I could get my mower down there, and he would fix it right. So I come home, took 2 months, called him 3, 4, 5 times, we had conversations. Come home one day, got that weed barrier stuff rolled through the ditch. No topsoil, sprinklers don't work, grass around that big oak tree back there about 12 inches out from the tree, this tall, and then it just drops off. Nobody raked it out. I spent 3 days the last 2 weekends rolling all that stuff back, raking it out, hauling topsoil, putting more grass seed, my money, my time. Why are we paying someone who's managing this project? Everyone's up here telling me what a great job this road looks, and I can tell you all sorts of flaws with this project. And the road is higher, the old road, the new road's higher than the old road. When our plows start going down Apple Orchard and hit that Glengarry, what's gonna start happening? It's gonna start breaking up. Who's gonna pay for that? I got water, I sent pictures to Sharon. I got water sitting in my ditch now, never had before. You got water sitting down here by the dam, over the road. I took pictures and sent them in. I got the tree roots this big hanging out of the side of that oak tree and rolled that barrier over it. How can I cut that? Why am I out there doing that? I paid to sod that when I moved in. I put sprinklers out there. I fertilized the easement because I think I have to maintain that, correct? In the village thing, I'm responsible to maintain the easement. So I can be like the rest of the people down here on Glengarry, that they just roll that stuff out, and we got weeds all over, and if that's what you guys want to live with in your village, then that's fine. I'm not going to live in my yard like that. So I had to go out there because all that barrier stuff started to grow, and we worked on this for 6 weeks trying to resolve it. And then he come over and with a diagram and said I could fill the ditch in, and he brought that landscaper guy. He wanted me to spend $2,300 to fill my ditch in at my expense. I mean, ridiculous. But everyone sits up here and wants to say what a great job this is. The line isn't finished by my house. The turn lane turning into Apple Orchard going east by my house there. That line, when we striped the road, there's no line painted on the road. I mean, we took 2 months. He said we didn't have landscapers. If we're tearing up people's yards, easements, if we don't have the money to do these projects properly, let's not do them. We're building workout centers over here, but we can't even put back the property the way it was, down the side of the road. Why are we building bike paths and workout centers if we can't put the property, at least do the basics? I mean, the guy at the Glengarry Bar, the owner, told me that the ordinance officer came in there yesterday and told me he had to clean the weeds in that ditch down there. So obviously, we're responsible to clean these easements. I mean, my pine tree now is starting to die, one of my big pines out by the road, because half the roots were dug out in the ditch. I mean, who's managing this company? Is the village, or is he just doing what he wants with our money? I pay taxes. I lived in this village for 40 years. And I tell you, I don't like what I see. And we're just writing checks and going through here and signing off on all these paving projects. and we don't even look at what we're paying for? He come over and told me, I called him on the phone, I said, did you see what they did? Oh, they did a great job with your yard. I said, did you look at it? So he come over, back over there, oh, I didn't see that, I didn't see this. This is what, a mile and a half at the most? He's managing this project, and he can't drive down the road? I know he's been here for 25 years. I think it's time we start looking outside next time his contract's up and interview other companies. Just don't start rubber stamping all the time. That's all I have to say, but I'll tell you, I'm not happy, and I'm not getting answers from anyone. Everyone just steers and just wants the taxes and not getting the services.
I see that you're not happy. Mr. Powell, what can you tell us about the situation over there?
Certainly, I can't go through everything. The contractor himself getting the landscaper out there was most of the delay. There's certainly a difference of opinion as to how ditch lines ought to be left. The ditch lines, first of all, were cleaned in order to flow back and forth. His ditch line was higher than the property to the west, and therefore the property from the west held all the water, and no water could drain into his ditch line because it was higher. Therefore, when it was put at the proper depth in order for the Glengarry Road ditch line to drain, it was lower than the original ditch line. So we couldn't put it back the way it was because it wasn't functioning. As far as establishing a swale, if any council person goes out there, you'll see that his ditch line has been softened a great deal more than anyone else's ditch line, because we have right-of-way there to be able to modify it. The bottom line is the contractor for the paving company landscaped the ditch lines and restored the ditch lines. They're not landscapers. And Mr. Kucera is very meticulous in his lawn, and besides hiring a actual landscape company to come in and resod his ditch line, there was really no way to put it back the way he thought it should be put back. And if we were to do that on everybody's ditch line all the way up and down Glengarry Road, it would have been an enormous cost for the village to reestablish the ditches as they were. So there's certainly a difference of opinion. I understand that he is upset. I met with him many, many times. Sharon did as well. There was no way, I don't believe, that the contractor was going to satisfy Mr. Kucera. Well, quite frankly, we did a better job, in my opinion, there. I stood there while they were restoring it. It certainly was not to his satisfaction, however.
Oh. Can I speak?
Yep, go ahead.
Ask Sharon, she came out there. Did you agree that around that tree that was acceptable?
No, and I think,
Okay.
I think we tried to work on that.
Do you agree? Do you see the pictures that I had to rake out of there? Out of that oak tree back there, there's a root coming out of the side of the hill, this big, that he just left hanging out there. That is not landscaping. You tear up someone, you dig ditch. We can argue about how deep the ditch is. I don't agree with it, okay? We'll put that aside. Not landscapers. Someone goes in there, you redig someone's ditch, you go in there and you rough rake it, you clean it up, and you regrade it, you roll the stuff down. You don't just, look at the piles that I raked out of there. If that's acceptable, if we can't spend $300-400, someone could have raked it out before they did it. We don't have the money to do it. We shouldn't have did this road project for next year. That road wasn't crumbling. We could have waited and put a little bit more money and made the road right. You got these ditches down there. You guys all live here. If you're acceptable and happy with it, you got to live here too. And a lot of you got bigger homes on the lake. You got more investment than I got here. And you got weeds growing up in these ditches, and these people aren't going to cut them now because. And then you go through and I had that when you guys did the sewers, the company came through and they sodded. And I called up here and I said, someone covered my culvert. Mike comes out with a probe, there's no culvert here. I'm like, yeah, there's a culvert here. They buried it over and sodded it. And I said, if it doesn't flood, I'd rather not have the culvert. I can drive right down it. Now they dig the culvert out, put this big ditch in there, and I got water sitting in my ditch. Water's running down Glengarry now, coming down by the apple orchard sign, washing out all that. he has the contractor that he come, had my sprinkler, had him come haul some of this millings and start patching the hole because it's washing the road out. And the car drove, I told him, I said, you've got all this water directed now, you're washing the road out, and a car's gonna drive over this hole, he's seen it, broke the road up, he come over and put some millings in there, that road will be broken up, we'll be paying for it, all of us. He doesn't live here, he'll be collecting our money, and we'll be paying for the broken roads. So, someone needs to be out here. We elected people, it's our money, your money, we need to look at what he's doing with our money. And we could sit up here, and he says, pay, and you guys all just vote to pay. I don't think that Cadillac asphalt is finished or doing what they're supposed to do. What are we gonna do with this water sitting down by the dam? That wasn't there before this road pavement.
Unfortunately, that problem was there before this
Well, the
project.
2 drains that went over the road, now the water's sitting up there, I didn't see it before. But, I mean, this keeps washing down on my road, I mean, I guess, who do I ask? I've asked for this, I fixed the landscaping myself. And his comment was, oh, you did a very nice job. Well, thanks. That's when he came in here tonight, that's what he told me.
All right. Council's pleasure, where would we like to go with this? We can review, we can have admin review. If you haven't gone out to take a look, I went out there tonight, took a quick look. I can certainly take another look, having heard some of the specific concerns.
Yeah.
I have a couple quick,
Wait, yeah, Mr. Sinkwitz has a question.
not to anybody, first of all, I can attest to what you said, because when they put the mat with the hay and the seed in it, I think the first rain we came, it just wadded up in the ball. And it was all twisted and tangled and laying there just like somebody just threw a bunch of junk in the. Now, I don't know if somebody came out there from the landscaping company or the people that we were using and re-tacked that in, but it should have been staked better, so when a rain would come, it wouldn't roll up. The other thing, am I assuming that your sprinkling system works now? And was that paid for?
Village paid for that.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, the guy that does.
Unfortunately, though, that, you know, I remember going by and not seeing, you know, because you had it all grassed, and I don't know how deep it is now, so I can't attest to that. But unfortunately, when ditches are all based on gravity and we don't have storm sewers, there's a deep end and then there's a shallow end.
I'm not even gonna argue that.
Yeah, but,
I gave up.
you know, it's tough when you're trying to use a lawnmower on a 45-degree angle. I can agree with you on that, but I'm glad at least your sprinkler system's been taken care of, and unfortunately, sometimes, you know, the contractors, you know, they're pavers, they're not landscapers, so the paving was done exceptionally well, and the other stuff is kind of a wham-bam. I guess my only, if maybe somebody from our DPW, Andy, or something, just to go look at it and see if it meets our standards and it's been done right, and there's not much we can do. If there's something that's drastically wrong there, then I think, because Andy's.
I think there's gotta be, there's gotta be.
I think his complaint is not what's there now, it's
Done.
the way it
It's
got
done.
to
You
where
drive
it
by
is.
now, it looks beautiful. I spent 3 days.
Oh, I thought you said you were still having water again.
Oh, well, yeah, the water's sitting there.
Okay.
As far as the landscape part, yeah, there's still water catching, that's sitting in the corner.
It's not moving.
No.
Okay.
You may also made a comment about one of your large evergreen trees, half of it's dying because they cut the roots away.
I mean, I just, you know,
There seems to be obviously they disagree, you know. Mr. Powell is our representative, and our constituent, they disagree. I think maybe a third set of eyes would be beneficial for us, if not for the resolution, but for us to be a little bit more clear with what is actually going on down there, what is actually the state of it, even now, despite all his efforts to fix it,
Yeah,
so.
I mean, I'm willing to have the admin committee go down, take a look at it, come back
Yeah.
with a recommendation to council. I don't think it's gonna make him happy about what happened up till now, but let's see if there's something there that we can address in the next project.
Who writes these projects, and what are our expectations? Who writes the requirements when we hire when we're gonna go dig ditches, when they came to you with a project as council, what were the expectations? They were gonna clean the ditches out and restore the property? I mean,
To be honest, Mr. Sarah, my expectation was that the level of restoration that would happen was not sod. It would be putting down the seed, putting down the path, grass would grow, and we would get to a point where in September, it's back, restored, and reasonably functional. That was my expectation in this sort of project. The restoration always takes a good deal longer than the project itself.
your expectations were to have it raked out and put it back to the way it was, without the sod. The
Well,
expectations were to just dig them out and roll that stuff down. That, to you, that was acceptable.
That was my expectation, yeah.
Okay.
But there's al-
You'll go spend money on a workout center and all that, and but we'll leave the sides of our roads look like shit. And then that's what your expectations, you were happy with that.
My expectation is that by next year, that road will look good, and sodding that would cost a good deal more,
And that's the
an
side.
awful
I'm
lot
not-
more.
We're talking two different things. I said expectations of restoring the property, raking out the garbage, not leaving chunks of asphalt in my ditch, work gloves, stakes, and that stuff that I pulled out.
That part I agree,
Well,
should have been
that's
done.
what I'm
Yeah,
asking.
okay.
I'm not talking about sod.
No, okay, I was
I'm
talking about,
someone with a bulldozer digging out around the tree, leaving grass this far away from the tree, that high. How can you get a mower around that? But then you're gonna send the ordinance offer or over to people and say, your weeds are too high, you gotta cut this, or we're gonna cut them for you. I mean, you gotta make it so I can maintain it, and put it back to where it was, without the sod. I'm not talking about the sod and the depth, I'm talking about the garbage you see in the pictures that I sent you. That was one time. I've had 2 piles up there, that was the last pile that I just took a picture. That's what. And yet, do I want my yard looking nice? Yes, and you better hope all that had more people like me around here. You guys act like I'm asking for the sky and moon, but we're worried about bike paths and stuff, and we can't put people's property back together.
I
You
think
had a neighbor on the other side of the road, that they chopped up the end of his driveway that we're gonna have to fix. Now, we're gonna pay for that he was out there looking at, on the commerce side. When the guy went with the bulldozer and caught into that and broke his driveway up. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that we're gonna pay for. We ain't asking for more money later.
okay. Let me go back to council discussion here.
Going back to expectations, I mean, it's a big project, and, you know, I expect there to be some, not destruction, but disruption, certainly, of people's, people that live adjacent to the project. I mean, it's inevitable. Now, reconciling things at the end of the day, that's something that maybe we should address. I mean, I think the expectations for it to look exactly the way it did before are, I think that's a little, beyond that, that's beyond, in my opinion, a reasonable expectation. Especially given the fact that if in fact, like Mike suggests, that the actual flow of water under the road and so on was, because of the disparity in height, was not functional. I mean, so, there's a functionality issue here, and the logistics of, or the reality that you're living next to a big project, that, you know, there's gonna be a big disruption at some point. Can council do more, can the village do more to restore things at the end of the day? Maybe we can, I don't know. I mean, a third set of eyes might be beneficial. Because I just don't know where our responsibility is. You know, we're responsible to ensure safe travel down that street, you know, reliable flow of water, the event of rain, extraordinary weather patterns, and so on and so forth. I mean, our responsibilities are multiple, not just to be sure that we limit the disruption of someone's property. Yes, it is a concern of mine, and I believe of all of council. But at the same time, our concerns are diverse, and not, should say diverse, but wide. There's many. And in fairness to Mike and the whole overall project and the council, I think we need to kind of recognize that.
How was the sewer project was a lot bigger than paving the Glengarry Road? And that road, in my yard, this whole road was put back nicer than when they started putting the sewers in. So,
You know,
it
I'm-
could be done. I mean, construction doesn't mean destruction.
I agree. We're, in that sense, we're in agreement. And I think we need some time, maybe, and some other people to look at this, to understand it, because no one's looking to just ignore your concerns that your property is not being put back in the way it was before. I mean, I spend a lot of money investing in my property as well, so I am sympathetic to what you're saying, and we're not indifferent to it either. So, I just want to point that out. It's not, there's probably a little bit more conflict here than is probably necessary. But I think we need some time to kind of sort things out.
Yeah, I think you got a good point there, Ron, and I think it's one of these things that's, when I was the project manager, after you got done, you have the lessons learned, and what did we screw up that we can do better the next time on, okay? I mean, that's just an example, of the problem that he's had. I mean, we're all not perfect. I've run multi-million-dollar projects and things have screwed up, but you sit back at the end when it's all over with, and you look at it, what kind of lessons learned, okay? What can we do different and better the next time around so we won't have those situations again? I think that's something that, I don't know if Mike's done it or we need to do that, just to make sure that, okay, maybe we didn't do it perfect, but let's see what we can do the next time we have a situation. It's not gonna be the same situation. Whenever we have a situation that we need to look at closer and make sure that our village residents are, you know.
I think we disagree though, that's the problem. I think,
Well-
I understand what you're saying is the lessons learned. Understanding, he says that he thinks what he did is acceptable.
Well, that's why I
So
think.
that's what you guys have to judge as the council.
Well,
I
that's-
gave you the information,
Mhm.
you have to see if you think he did his job. If
Well,
you
that's
think he
right.
did his job, then hire him next time.
Well, that's right. I think that
That's what
I think we do need some time to.
I mean, you can't go down there and you really can't look, because I took photos of what I could, because like I told you, I fixed it. I spent 3 days. I spent a lot of time out there, I made it right, I cut all the grass away from the tree, I raked it down, I re-put the matting down, and the matting was staked properly, I pulled it all away. So if you went down there and seen it rolled up, at least at my house, they did put it all down and stake it, it didn't move around. So they did do that. And so, yeah, I just gave you the information. I think it was a poor job. You can judge for yourself.
That sounds fair.
Having had this discussion, I think I would like to send it to the admin committee for review of what happened in the ditch lines and come back to council with a report. And, you know,
I think what you also, so I mentioned about getting DPW to get their perspective on it. Also, I don't think a third set of eyes would hurt either. So if you want to have that as part of the administrative committee to go do that, that's a thought too.
Yeah, but I mean, I think we're gonna have to look at it.
It's got to move
DPW
someplace, and
will review
that's
it.
what the question is.
We
Okay.
have ditch line issues across the whole village, because, and this is always an ongoing problem, because we do the ditches, we clear them out, they get, over time, they get sodded up, culverts get buried, and then we go through, clear again, and it is a disruption in people's front yards. So I think we need to look at the issue, and we need to look at the restoration, and establish, you know, I think he's right. If there was just general junk and crap left down in the drain,
That's wrong,
that's
yeah.
not acceptable.
Right.
What's an acceptable level of restoration? That's all.
I think that's point to an administration committee, but also the walkway we intended to do down here that we're gonna put in.
Mhm.
I mean, we need to, we're gonna disrupt more than one homeowner when we put that walkway in, okay? To make sure that what we do and that when it's done, that the homeowner is satisfied that the work is done. So we don't have any other issues like we had down here.
The guy putting that walkway in now is the guy that fixed my sprinklers, did a great job.
Okay.
The guy they hired, he cut that, and you watch him, he cuts it, he cleans, and he leaves the property like he wasn't there. I mean,
All right.
doesn't look like a bomb went off, he's doing a nice job, so.
Okay.
So do I hear a motion to send that issue to admin committee?
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Motion Kaznecki, second Nagy. Further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thanks for bringing it to us. We'll take a look at it.
Thank you.
Sorry for the wait.
All right.
Moving on.
That does bring us to item N, set topics for the August 2014 work session. I do want to say that I am not going to be around the last 2 weeks of August. We've had quite a few meetings. We will apparently have an admin committee meeting before our next meeting. I would entertain a motion to cancel the August work session.
I'll make that motion. Second.
Motion Sikowitz, second Nedrow. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item O, liaison to emergency management coordinator for Oakland County. Should have before you the resolution. This is pretty straightforward. It was just Oakland County didn't have on record the actual record of who the liaison should be the police chief. We've got the resolution before you. Because it came before you, I can give everybody a chance to look at it, but it's really pretty straightforward. It's just who is our emergency contact for Oakland County, Oakland County Emergency Management Coordinator. So,
Do we need a?
Captain Ellsworth, yeah, we're gonna need a.
It's just a formality more than anything. It's something that every community has, and we basically use Oakland County anyway. I'm the liaison.
All right. Do I hear a motion to adopt the resolution as presented?
Yep, so moved.
Motion Nagy, second Cumbo. Further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, that brings us to pending business. I think pending business can continue to pend. Update from Captain Ellsworth.
Oh. Might be a lot less tension.
Mike.
Thanks, Mike.
Mike? Some administrative things. We're back to full staff for the first time in 2 years, I think over 2 years. Unfortunately, our vehicles have decided to go on sick leave and short-term disability.
Well, somebody always decides to do that.
Our 2010 Charger needs another front end, and this will be the fourth in 4 years. The other three have been paid for and covered by the maintenance and warranty. This one, because of the high mileage, will not. So we will be taking care of that. However, my 2012 Dodge Charger just had an engine replaced with 30,000 miles.
Wow.
And so it has...
Was that still under warranty?
That is still under warranty. And as a matter of fact, looking into this, it took them about 2 weeks to get a block because we were just one out of 24 departments in the last 2 weeks that have needed new engine blocks. There's obviously an issue. They thought they had fixed the issue, however, they made the issue even greater. So I will be presenting the new Tahoe recommendation next council meeting, and hopefully we can get through it. It's still in there, actually getting some leaks taken care of. We had just got it back, but it had some additional leaks. So as far as criminal activity goes, please make sure you're locking your car door vehicles. Summertime larcenies are beginning to ramp up a little bit, but most of them are vehicles that are just left unlocked. Also, juvenile malicious destruction of property reports are increasing just because of the boredom of these kids in the summertime. That being said, our cameras in the park caught 3 young juveniles doing a little bit of mischief in the park. With the help of some of the officers that thought they might have recognized one of them, we called a parent and they said, "Oh yes, that is my son, and those are his 2 friends that came to stay with him from Linden," I think it was. So those 3 have been rounded up, and they're going to be brought in, and well, they were brought in, confessed, and restitution and community services, and we'll be sending them through the Lakes Area Youth Assistance. At least one of them. The other 2 are going through Linden area's youth assistance. So our cameras did their job, and it was kind of unique to see. But other than that, summers seems to be going pretty well, and our boat is doing well, and we're still doing our marine patrol. We're actually ramping up some of the marine patrol extra this week during the evenings because of the boat out here, so. Other than that,
Did you catch the person that was vandalizing all the mailboxes?
we thought we did. No. The short answer to that is no.
What about the lawn job?
We did, as a matter of fact, tomorrow morning, one of my officers is in court with the subject that stole the truck and did the lawn jobs. They caught them, and warrants were issued, and he turned himself in this week, and he is being arraigned tomorrow morning, so, or, I'm sorry, Friday morning. He has a court date, so. Yeah, we've been busy, but, you know, it's good to have a full crew again. It's nice to have Officer List back in the building, so. And our offices are great. Thank you so much. What a difference that makes, so.
All right. Update from Treasurer Condek.
The repeal of the personal property tax last week is not going to impact the village very much. One of the exempt categories of the personal property is the utility property, and if we took Detroit Edison, or I'm sorry, DTE and Consumers Energy, just those two alone comprise about 75% of our personal property. There's mechanisms, first of all, it's not that large an amount in our general fund. It was 21,000 last year. It's stepped down a little bit this year because, as you know, there's an exemption for anybody with a taxable value of $40,000 or less. There are some reimbursement mechanisms. I think we're going to lose a little bit, but so far, the repeal was just for commercial and industrial personal property, not utility property, so the effect is minimal. That's it.
All right, updates from the administrator.
Most of my updates we've already talked about, but I will let you know that I attended the Lakes Area Youth Assistance meeting today, and it seems like it's very worthwhile. I'm going to share that meeting with Brian and Ron in the future. And we do have Taste of the Lakes tickets for September. That's a project that they really spend a lot of time on. They raise a lot of money, so if you haven't gotten your ticket, I have them in the office. The DPW has been working on a lot of projects. They've worked on the Helmsford pump house. They're doing a lot of excavation there, and they have to clear a lot to make that work. They've also had to do a lot of work around the building for the renovations here. They're always called upon to pull something out, and it is taking quite a bit of time for staff and DPW, so hopefully that'll get moving and be finished before the snow flies. They've also been working on the exercise equipment. I think today they backfilled the area around the pad and put some seed and stuff there, so that looks like a nice project now. And we did talk to Park and Rec, and they are trying to plan some type of a grand opening or something to draw attention to the exercise equipment. People don't know it's there. We haven't published anything, and we haven't gotten any publicity. But I have seen quite a few people there, and I think once people find out it's there and they can get to it by our pathways, they will use it. We talked about the lake being treated tomorrow. The harvester has been running, and our two operators we had in the past are no longer with us, but we do have a new operator, and he's picked it up really, really well, and he's anxious to get out there. We talked about the pathway. That work is underway, and Jeff Miller is doing a great job. And I'm hopeful that that will be completed. I was concerned about not having the asphalt down on that path before winter, so Mike, you and I are going to be talking about that probably a lot. I don't want the people's yards to be disrupted all winter. So we will be having a newsletter, a fall newsletter, and the deadline, if you have any articles you'd like to be placed in there by September 10th. I think that's all.
All right. Council comments, we'll start down the side.
Well, I think the only thing I took away from the gentleman who was here was his main angst was the fact that there was a lot of trash left in the ditch, I guess. And that's something that certainly we can clean up as a village. Other than that, let's support our Citizen of the Year and get on that boat. We only have a few days left, I guess, don't we? And it's the 60th birthday of this village. on
That's
Saturday.
Friday.
It's Friday?
Right, and it is full.
It is
So if you
full,
haven't
yeah.
gotten your tickets, you're not going to get on
Too
it
bad,
now.
huh? Well, we're gonna be on the
Yep.
boat, so. Next year, I'm gonna become a pirate, I understand. Those kids had a ball out there.
Looked like
They always have a ball.
Yeah, yeah. Go ahead.
I'll also be on the boat Friday night. It did look like the kids were having a lot of fun
Yeah.
Saturday on both the cruises. so.
Not as much as the women. but
Not as much as the women, I guess, yeah.
There's always a lot of screaming going on.
There are, yeah. I can hear it at our house.
There's nobody fell
Been
over.
fun having it around again, so, that's all I've got, I guess.
I have nothing.
All right, let's get on the combo.
If you're on the boat Friday and Saturday night, and maybe at the beach on Sunday, you'll hear the Wolverine Lake All-Star Band playing.
Which
Which
Ron is
I
part of.
remember,
Uh-huh.
and yes, it's gonna be a lot of fun. And then we've worked out a couple sets of very loud rock and roll music, and it's, we're very eager to perform, so. come
I
on out.
understand if you're not on the boat, you're still going to hear it.
You're gonna hear
The
it
band.
no matter where you are in the village.
You know about a noise ordinance, right?
I'll bring earplugs.
So, that's all I have, thank you.
Kaznicki.
Just a reminder, I don't think we'll have another village council meeting before September 7th, which is our village festival at Claire Miller. Please come and support the village on that. We've got a band, 2XL.
2XL.
Yeah. And the Park and Rec has been putting a lot of energy into it, and
So need volunteers?
always use volunteers,
I saw
especially
flyers.
like Roger was a big volunteer, and he's gonna be gone. And I agree with Linda, you know, if there's something we can do to, you know, for Roger, but unless it's something that's here or something small, he's really downsized, had several garage sales. He doesn't need to take, I think, anything large or whatever with him, but I think it would be a very nice gesture to do.
Minimally a bench or something on the walkway.
That would be a great idea.
Yeah.
That would be a real good idea, you
Good
know,
idea.
but it'd be nice if we could do something for Roger. Tom and I will be working the village festival, so please come out, and if by any chance you happen to have any other connections with people who would love to donate that we haven't hit up, we're always looking for that too.
All right, Nagy.
You know, we got the summer's coming to an end, Labor Day is coming up, the 1st of September. Everybody have a safe Labor Day weekend, and I guess things will be winding down on the water. Thank you.
All right, and as for me, as I noted, I will be gone for 2 weeks. It's been a long time since I've actually taken 2 weeks during the summertime off, and I am, Monique and I are putting a couple of my nephews from France in the back of a car, and we are hauling them around America. So we're gonna go off and see South Dakota and Wyoming and Colorado and Kansas and
Oh, cool.
world's largest ball of twine,
Mount Rushmore.
Paul Bunyan statue, whatever comes our way. So, in a couple weeks, we'll be back.
Motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn, second Nedrow, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. We are adjourned.
No, it's a tough call. You don't put something back.
I've noticed.
Yeah, I was.
It'd be like the guy that worked for the train place, he just spent 4 weeks on